Lord Most High
Yes.
for blessing me with a brand new day in good health.
Yeah. Well, you've pontificated very religiously this morning. It is good. Actually,
Dada Nduh, ujambo?
sister.
Jambo mingi?
Excellent.
Toa
excellent.
ushuhuda.
Yes.
I have no idea what that is.
Na si lazima iwe ni mazungumzo, inaweza kuwa hata nyimbo.
Unaweza imba pambio.
Pambio moja.
Good Lord.
Yes.
I don't know what's going on right now.
Chorus.
What's shuhuda?
Testimony.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm grateful
Pambio.
to be alive.
Yes, and
Testimony of like not testing money,
no, actually, yes.
Nigerian. It's not the Nigerian.
No, thank you for clarifying it to our sister. It's not testimony.
No money.
It's not money.
Ego. Shishi. Pepper.
It's even called shishi
Yes, no.
Pepe.
and pepe.
The thing's sweet, too.
Yeah.
Abi not sweet city.
All right, okay. Oh,
It's sweet now. Abi
absolutely.
money not sweet. Not lie.
Well, if
Money
you say
sweet.
that, if you
Sweet
put it that,
even
even me, I understand exactly what you're saying. You've mentioned the money, and then you've mentioned sweet with an O. So that one I have comprehended.
Not sweetie. Sweet, oh.
Yes, money is sweet O.
How you
Pepe
day?
is sweet O.
No, pepper not sweet, oh, but okay. They make food sweet, sure.
So pepe is not money now.
Okay, in
Pepe
this
has
sense,
moved.
well, now we've moved to food, Abi.
Okay.
Is
Language.
life not interesting?
I'm telling you, language is so fun with all its trips and falls, you know?
No, language is actually, it's actually the mode and manner of human communication. It's fascinating. What I always find fascinating is the non-verbal communication. That's what is truly fascinating. A look, a twitch of the nose, a twitch of the ear, the raising of an eyebrow, not eyebrows, okay? The pursing of the lips. Man, the communication, the flaring of the nostrils. Goodness gracious me.
Wow. Whole conversation's been had right there. It's good.
And the twitching of the ear.
Yes, it twitches.
The people who have earlobes that twitch.
I just had a mental picture and it's actually quite funny.
Wait. You're exercising your mind unjustly this morning. Where has your mind gone to?
I'm gonna leave that thing, I beg.
Okay, bring it back.
Wow.
Okay. Welcome to the show. On this beautiful Tuesday, we'll be asking ourselves, where is the civil society when we have all this political talk happening? Today, we hope to get some answers. We'll be speaking with one of the current leading lights in the civil society movement. Will be telling us what the civil society is doing in politics. Also, we have got to go back to Kenol and Muranga and look at the politics of the country again, because much as we have all other manner of rhetoric, we must remember that a 15-year-old and a 21-year-old died on Sunday, and they didn't have to. And they were not shot by police this time. They were killed by fellow citizens. One was stabbed from the back twice, and they died. And we've got to ask the question, so where, if we go by the story that's appearing in the nation today, that, even intelligence officers knew, police officers knew that this was being planned. The planning had started as early as Wednesday last week. So today we want to turn and ask the question on the security agencies. So what exactly do we pay you for if you cannot protect people's lives?
That's a question.
Yep, and COVID-19 is a lot that's happening. Plus, CS Magoha says parents are going to fork out some cash to meet the resource gaps. Yeah, well, we have a lot to discuss, but let's start where we always begin. COVID-19 and the numbers and the new point of concern from the Ministry of Health.
Sure. Well, let's go macro and to the rest of the world. 35,695,735 cases now recorded globally, with 1,045,920 deaths. 26,865,755 people are in recovery or have recovered from COVID-19 around the world. Okay, it continues to rise. We failed to mention that the numbers in the U.S. rose with, of course, President Trump and his wife, Melania, adding to these numbers. 7,679,644 COVID-19 cases in the U.S., with now 215,000 deaths. India now at 6.6 million, Brazil at 4.9 million, and Russia at 1.2 million. The numbers continue to rise. The Ministry of Health in Kenya, however, has warned that, or rather they're expressing concern as cases rise, and they're saying the cause of this rise in cases is due to recklessness. The authorities have warned against this carefree attitude as the number of new infections increase. 598 samples yesterday, and from those, 22 were positive. And so now that takes Kenya's numbers higher, of course. Total number of deaths in the country now stand at 735, 1,029 health workers positive now from COVID-19 in the country. 39,449 cases now in the country, and we looked at 22 new cases yesterday from a smaller sample size, of course.
So now, we're also seeing the cases, for example, in Nakuru County. I mean, the Nakuru County government raising concern about the cases rising there. The people who are admitted who are requiring oxygen are increasing. People who need critical care are increasing. But it sounds like the voices coming from Afi House have basically just been muffled. Now we are talking about other things. We moved on. You health people, your time is gone. You had your window in March, April, May, June. Take a back seat.
You know, I wouldn't blame the mandarins of Afia House. With COVID, no. It's baffling because just when you begin to imagine you have a handle on it or you understand it, something else happens that throws you off balance completely. And then remember, there's this small matter of planning and trying to determine which way forward with regards to health safety measures for the country. And then you suddenly find something called a test kit isn't available. There's certain things you can't do. Then, even with the little that you have, you find there's a delay somewhere. There's a minefield. And you see, you want to maintain a certain consistency in communication, and it's becoming difficult.
So now that you say you don't want to blame the mandarins at Afi House, whom do you want to blame for for the lack of that kit?
No. It's not that I don't want to blame anyone. I'm merely saying that this is a conundrum. You know, yesterday we were talking about the reporting, the accuracy of it, the effectiveness of it. And I was reading the Daily Telegraph, the UK Daily Telegraph, and I came across a very interesting story in yesterday's Telegraph. They have a problem that is very similar to ours. They can't trace 15,000 people.
Follow the face of the earth?
Well, put it this way.
They used an Excel sheet. And the Excel sheet has a limited number of rows and columns. So they ran out of the rows. Absolute nonsense.
The tracking system has a problem. They somehow, so you wonder, so this tracking system, what did you load it on?
Seriously, it was an Excel sheet.
Yes.
and they ran out of space on an Excel sheet.
So 15,000 people were unaccounted for.
Well, yeah, let's say there's a problem. And then, no. I want you to understand the nightmarish proportions of it, because now if you're tracking, because someone who's related to these people has tested positive, can you imagine the nightmare proportions that presents?
They shouldn't even have said it, you know? They shouldn't have put that information out there about the Excel sheet. Because, I mean...
In the spirit of openness.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's it. Transparency and
accountability
Sure.
and what have you.
Okay.
Yes, and then you suddenly realize that even the figures that you get on a daily basis, tricky.
Sana.
Yes, it's that's the perspective I'm bringing to where I am not saying that they couldn't have done better. I'm not saying that Afia House have done a sterling job. No, Afia House have been caught between. This is not the proverbial. This is the literal rock and hard place. Yes, they've said things. Now here we are.
Where? Oh, yeah. But the thing is, COVID is still a big reality, especially to those people who are getting COVID. They are symptomatic. They need urgent medical attention. That is a big reality.
It is a big reality. If you look at, say, a country like Peru, which unfortunately keeps leading the world in the highest number of COVID-related deaths, it can't be pleasant. It can't be pleasant. They're only now beginning to open up their airspace, and even then it's limited. And the reason why they're opening it up, because there are very many citizens who had gone to other countries that are around them. Now they'd like some of the citizens maybe to come back. There's an opportunity. But can you imagine if you lived in that country? Forget infections, deaths.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those deaths are many.
You know, the story of COVID, it keeps unfolding. And it's not one of these that unfolds a lot of hope. It's like an unfolding horror story. Just when you think something, well, there's some good news with relation to vaccines, something else happens that makes you sit back, rethink, shudder, wonder. Yeah. Yes.
It's that, and it's big. And even globally, just like we say every morning, it's still looking as big. Anyway, it's 6:15. Let's take a look at what's happening in the skies this morning, and then we look at the headlines and other stories that are making big headlines around the world. This is a Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. Our live stream is up, www.spicefm.co.ke and SpiceFMKE on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. We'll be giving our shout-outs to everybody who's tuned in this morning. Good morning.
24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
When it comes to bridging the information gap to help strengthen the agricultural sector in our country, you can always rely on Farm Kenya to be the glue holding everything together. And now, courtesy of the partnership with Farmster, things couldn't be better. Introducing Farm Kenya platform, and it goes like this. Our SMS service will help farmers upload and publish their products without smartphones, while the Farm Kenya app will allow buyers locate, purchase from, and engage the farmers directly. So if you're a farmer, send a free SMS to 40446 and connect with buyers free for life. That's 40446. If you're a buyer looking for local produce, download the Farm Kenya app from Google Play Store or the Apple Store for free. Remember, ukulima sio shamba pekee. Ukulima ni digital. Ukulima ni Farm Kenya platform.
Kuimarisha Kenya ni jukumu la Farm Kenya.
Brought to you by Farm Kenya and Farmster, working to secure your growth.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
comes to bridging the information gap to help strengthen the agricultural sector in our country, you can always rely on Farm Kenya to be the glue holding everything together. And now, courtesy of the partnership with Farmster, things couldn't be better. Introducing Farm Kenya platform, and it goes like this. Our SMS service will help farmers upload and publish their products without smartphones, while the Farm Kenya app will allow buyers locate, purchase from, and engage the farmers directly. So if you're a
Clear skies in
farmer,
Nairobi
send
this
a
morning
free
at 14
SMS to
degrees, likely to continue this way throughout the day. Highs of 27 and lows of 13. Njeri's clear at 14, highs of 25, and a chance of rains later in the afternoon. This Wednesday ushers in clear skies in Nakuru as well at 13 degrees, highs of 24 and lows of 12, with a shower or two expected in the afternoon. Eldoret, partly cloudy conditions at 13, highs of 22 and lows of 12, with showers expected later. Kisumu at 19 degrees is clear this morning, highs of 29 and lows of 18, and there's a possibility of rain later on. Kakamega clear skies at 16 degrees, highs of 27 and lows of 16. Also looking at wet conditions this afternoon. All right, let's look into Mombasa, where it's partly cloudy at 24 degrees, highs of 29 and lows of 23. And those partly cloudy conditions will continue through the day. 25 degrees and partly cloudy in Malindi this morning, highs of 29 and lows of 25. Kampala is partly cloudy at 19 degrees, highs of 27 and lows of 18. Clear skies in Dar es Salaam for now at 22, going to highs of 31 and lows of 21. Let's look into Joburg, where temperatures are warming up. 14 degrees at the moment and clear skies, highs of 19 and lows of 13, with a chance of rain later on. It rained through Monday in Lagos and it's going to do the same today. 29 degrees and isolated thunderstorms throughout the city, highs of 29 and lows of 24 throughout the southwest of Nigeria today. And in Beijing, getting into Tuesday afternoon, mostly sunny conditions at 17 degrees, highs of 21 and lows of 9. Let's look into London, where it's rainy this morning. Night rain showers continue through the morning. 12 degrees currently will rise to highs of 16 and lows of 9. In Paris, cloudy conditions and light rain showers at 12 degrees throughout today, highs of 16 and lows of 11. And let's wrap things up for now in New York City, where it's still Monday night. It's clear skies, however, at 17 degrees. When they do wake up, it'll rise to highs of 21 today and come down to lows of 14.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
20 minutes after 6, Vincent says, "Good morning, Wangwana. Why do you want to make people mistake me for a madman this morning? I just found myself laughing alone in a quiet matatu with my earphones on. As you shared the light moments during the introduction, you've made my day." Well, that's what we're here to do, Vincent. It is to make you appear like a madman. Job done. We can tick that. That tick. Duncan Lidodo in Kitale, you say you're well represented. Yes, well represented in Kitale. Good morning, team. Tuned in from Kisumu. That's Joseph Hightowers. Where? Now, this other name. Faito Mushaolin.
Keep going on.
Hey.
Sounds all very crouching.
Where? Haito Mushaolin. Moya Kirinyaga is tuned in. And Kisii is also well represented. Pauline Mogaka, Charles Karakacha, Nikondani Kaimosi, and Bedi Ansley, Macha, well represented. Everybody, good morning and welcome to today's show. City Muga is right here, and today he has a brand new proverb. And this brand new proverb today, is it about animals? Is it about
has to do
human
with
beings?
Animals. Yes, yes.
He who, or is it?
A monkey that eats grass instead of banana is a goat. Still a mammal.
A monkey that eats grass instead of banana is a goat. Buzi wewe.
Or is it? Tumbiri Wambuzi.
I was waiting for some serious landing. Okay. As opposed to saying goats eat grass.
Goats eat grass.
But no.
A monkey eats grass instead of banana.
It's a goat. Yes, so that we
There's a
clarify the issue.
Kikuyu song by the late Joseph Kamaro that was basically just talking about how people would go to move to urban areas and they bring up the children in the cities. And then, of course, over Christmas, you take your children back to shags. And these children have never seen these animals. The only animal the kids have seen is a dog and a cat. So the kid is asking the mother, why is this dog
Eating grass.
Why is this dog eating sweet potato vines? What kind of dog is this?
Do the parents get the message?
Completely.
Oh my good Lord.
Clearly, this urban life of yours,
Hey.
surely.
It has serious limitations.
Completely. All right, so let's look at the headlines.
Speaking of teaching and putting feet in mouths, government wants parents to foot COVID bills in schools. Talking about putting your foot in it. Parents are in for a rude shock when schools reopen. Training manual seen by the Standard shows that both parents and teachers will be roped in to bridge resource gaps. Parents may have to dig deeper into their pockets to support government efforts to make schools safe for learners in the wake to the pandemic. So shall we go into the details? Let's. It is now emerging that the government may not have adequate funds to implement the COVID-19 protocols of social distancing, wearing of masks, hand washing, and sanitizing. The responsibility of buying masks has been left to parents after the government indicated that it may require 1 billion shillings to provide 2 pieces of the same per child. Some 1.9 billion shillings has also been allocated towards purchase of 622,257 desks for public primary and secondary schools. However, these will only cover 5,254 secondary and 5,136 primary schools. The primary schools will each receive 70 desks, while secondary schools will get 50 lockers and chairs. Most schools may not benefit from the initiative, and this will call for proper resource mobilization. It's an interesting phrase. Within the institution's community to plug the gaps. A new tool to train the school community on how to raise money to plug the huge deficit reveals that parents and teachers may shoulder the burden. According to the Ministry of Education Training Manual, in an effort to adhere to the Ministry of Health guidelines to prevent the spread of the virus, including social distancing, wearing of masks, hand washing, sanitizing, among others, the current institutional resources will be overstretched.
Okay, I'm torn here. I'm torn between asking. I mean, what's different from what has been happening all along, and the other bit of asking myself whether the government here ought to have done better. But I'm torn. So the current desks that are in schools, have parents contributed for those desks that are in schools currently?
No.
The uniform that the child wears to school, have parents contributed?
Yes.
So a face mask, part of the clothing, parents buying?
No big deal.
You know that the logic behind it is sound. If there was no COVID, it would truly and honestly be sound. What we are not discussing and what we are in reality alluding to is that with COVID, the ability of the parents to even meet the basics of sending the children back to school is completely in doubt. So If you then throw in an additional cost, it's not a protective device, it's a cost. You throw in that cost, then suddenly you are perhaps not loading, you are overloading the parents.
Yeah.
The parents now have to deal with something that they had not planned to deal with. Yes.
Neither had the government.
The government in this instance, since we're talking about parenthood, is the big parent. Yes. And this is not a parent who is just disabled because of COVID. This is a parent who is often enabled by the rest of the citizens it oversees to ensure it carries out these duties. Now, we've said this before in this same studio, and we're saying it now. The problem appears to be having a government that doesn't feel or think or behave as though it's their responsibility to fulfill all the promises it makes to its citizens. So now we have a situation where there isn't an option. The situation we're in is dire. There's no ifs and buts. Children need to go back to school. Certain things need to be done. And then they are going back to textbook. They're almost textbook perfect.
Today is the 6th of October.
Yes.
2 weeks ago, there was the there was the thought, right? Because it was not cast in stone. It did not come directly from the ministry that this is exactly what is going to happen before anything was shut down by the announcement that was made by the president. But from quarters that, everybody spoke to here and there, the notion was that we are ready to go back to school. No problem. Everything is in order. Now, when things are shut down and you're asked to go back to the drawing board and certain trainings are being undertaken, then that's when you hear these things that are coming out. Actually, you know what? We don't have enough money. We are not ready. So how was it going to be if the president had come ahead and announced and said, okay, go back to school tomorrow? No, we're ready. Still not ready. Currently, as we speak, there's a training that's going on. And according to the Basic Education Principal Secretary, it's expected by the end of this particular training, all institutional managers will gain knowledge, so they don't have it, but they were ready 2 weeks ago, on how to effectively play their role in providing strategic direction, establishing and maintaining policies, as well as providing resources so as to prevent and respond to COVID-19. The training is going on now. 2 weeks ago, they were ready. The trainings will include lectures, discussions, observing social distance, of course, demonstration, question and answer, think, pair and share, and brainstorming and case scenarios. Kipsang said, and I quote, "The reopening of institutions within the context of COVID-19 requires adequate preparations by the education sector, line ministries and county governments in close collaboration with the Ministry of Health." 2 weeks ago, they were ready. But I guess not so much anymore.
The reality here is that
They're not ready.
Okay, you're deep in thought. Now, can you verbalize the deep thoughts?
Use your words, Eric. Your words.
I'm trying to align my sentences.
Okay, fine. Construct them.
That we're basically on our own. Let me just reduce it. Let me just summarize it into we are on our own. This thing of thinking that everything that is being put on paper by the government is going to come to any practical realization is a fallacy.
Forget it.
Here it is. We are seeing colleges already opening, okay? And as colleges open, of course, we haven't seen any construction happening in colleges or any expansion of spaces. So what is going to happen is that colleges are back and the idea of social distancing and all is not really going to be met. When you reopen the other schools for basic education, let's assume that this happens in January, we're not going to be able to have social distancing or physical distancing.
Forget it.
We will not be able to. Because, number one, as you can see, the government is only purchasing about 600,000 desks. And the rest is expected then to be done by schools. This communication is not happening right now from schools to their parents so that they can start contributing so that then these local artisans can be told, prepare, bring us desks, so that we can then say that January, come the second week of Jan, as we are saying, we're reopening schools. This is how it's going to be. We have new desks, even if we talk about now we're going to use dining halls and we're going to use workshops and under the trees and all these other places. It's because we also have extra desks. We don't have those. We don't have, we are not going to be able to have the PPEs. We're talking about masks. So yes, there's been this talk of Rivertex being given the contract to produce masks for children across the country. Some are going to be given, others are going to have to buy. The issue of how these are going to be sold, we are basically not prepared. Just like I've said before, we are where we are, not because of what the government has done or because of what we, the people, have done. We are where we are just because of some divine intervention. If we were to follow what is happening in other parts of the world, if you said that you open up schools and people now go and start congregating and this is how they're going to be, we're in trouble.
For sure. This is the thing, and it's easy to say, but what was the proverb yesterday? It's easy to say things, but then
when deeds
speak, words are nothing.
Words are nothing, right? So in this case, it's the words that are the star of the show.
Hey.
It's just the words that are the star of the show here, and nothing is really happening. So I can understand that when you say then that essentially you're on your own here. You're going to have to figure it out for yourself. When the announcement is eventually made, parents are going to have to realize that you're going to call on more than just a deeper pocket.
No, the truth of the matter is people will not afford to do this. You will not be able to call in parents and tell them now when you're opening, there's extra X amount of shillings for development, and development here is buying extra desks. And then you expect that those parents are going to be able to. So it's not going to happen. So you'll just have schools reopening and things will be back to January 2020. How things were in Jan 2020 is how things are going to be in Jan 2021. Forget this. We should stop doing all this talk. Let's agree. Let's open schools if that's what it takes. 26 minutes to 7 o'clock. Let's take a look at what's happening on the roads.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
All right, let's look at it this morning. It's building up on Mombasa Road already. If you're in there, it's going to be some time before you get out. Moving very slowly all the way from the Way Bridge in Mlolongo. Today, you're going to get stuck right around the Gateway Mall and then moving towards the SGR and then out towards Cabanas. That's where the traffic has heightened levels. Mombasa Road, it looks like it's going to be interesting this Tuesday morning, and it's when everybody has woken up. Thika Road as well, trying to get into the CBD, moving slowly, but it's moving all the same. It's starting to jam up on Kiambu Road. If you're in that area, you can see what it looks like. It's going to take some time also to then join the super highway and then get into the CBD. Okay, looking at other parts of the city for now, not too bad. It's still flowing quite well at the moment. We'll be in traffic hour in a short while. We'll let you know what that looks like. If you get stuck somewhere, do let us know. 40127 is how you can text us or tweet us on Spice FM. Okay.
Spice FM, Malindi.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings.
It's 24 minutes to 7. The conversation continues. We're looking at the headlines in the papers this morning. The president got back from France, okay, and both the Nation and the Standard, I don't know what the Business Daily has or the Star and the People, the Standard says Uhuru arrives to confront chaos in his party and the state. The president flew back from France last evening to a bag full of problems, Jubilee chaos, rising impatience over the release of the handshake report, and uncertainty on reopening of schools. While he was away, succession politics swept aside the COVID-19 fears, bringing the two sides that are angling to succeed him into a monumental political battle. So basically, just looking at, so there's a whole talk of the National Management Committee of the Jubilee Party resolving to kick out the deputy party leader from the party. There's, from party leadership position. There's also the whole issue of what happened on Sunday in Muranga when the deputy president and his allies were attending a church service and there was all this fracas and 2 people died. There's the issue of a delayed release of the BBI report and his handshake brother saying that report will be ready soon, and this is now also being translated to mean that the handshake brother is getting a little bit impatient. The president needs to be available so that we can receive this report and start discussing it and start preparing ourselves to the next phase, which is maybe the referendum, as he has been saying. So the president is coming back to a bag full. Is it any different from how he left it?
Not really.
The contents of the bag may be different, but the fullness of the bag is the same.
When we talk about cultures, and we simplify it by saying it's simply a way of life, how is it that if we were to believe the reports we have in the print media, that both Tanga Tanga and Kieleweke ferried young people to Kennel to cause the mayhem that we witnessed over the weekend? Am I then to understand that our security forces did not know that such a thing was happening or didn't query? Because it wasn't as though it was one bus.
The report is quoting sources in the security sector. That means, that tells you security knew.
They did know. And why did they not do anything about it? Why did they let it take place? You see, then it lends credence to the assertion that some people have had that the security forces are also involved in some of these things. Even if it's just part of it or individuals within the security forces.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the entire sector is tarred with that same brush.
Yep.
You don't need everyone to do it. You just need a few people to do it. And that entire group of people then becomes the focus of attention. Yes. To what end?
To what end?
Okay. 2 young people died.
Unfortunately, the reason that could be given would be, that even though they did get this kind of intelligence, they didn't actually think that it would escalate to the levels that it did, which is very dangerous. You don't want to teeter-totter on that kind of belief. The fact that you hear something like this would happen, you can't assume that it won't go south. You can't assume that everything will be peaceful. You can't. The assumption would be that things would go south, and so you should actually be in that area to do something about it. Or at least let people feel that your presence is there, and things would not have escalated in the manner in which they did.
See, my mind goes back to an incident when a certain Mheshimiwa was being looked for by police. And among the people who were found at his residence were security officers who are stationed with the presidential police unit, meaning people whose function is to safeguard or ensure the safety of the presidency.
Right.
Okay? Now, there were reports that some people got demoted, whatever the story was behind it. But you then have to ask, so one assumes that the police force in its entirety do the same thing. But it is clear that others adhere to instructions from one quarter, another adhere to instructions from a different quarter. Now, if there's even the slightest indication that our security forces are not one cohesive unit, then is our security really one cohesive unit?
No.
Because what is certain is this. This is the same security unit that often does fantastic things, does things that makes you wonder and say, do you mean to tell me that we actually have such a wonderful security outfit? And then something as straightforward as this. It's not as though people just get into buses. These things are planned.
And clearly, as
Yes.
you can hear, the planners are known.
Yes.
as this is
and
happening.
spent over a period of time.
We have a very robust intelligence service that
We do.
is very well funded by our taxpayers,
My
by our
friend.
taxes.
I'll
Yeah.
be very surprised.
Very
if
well
I'll be
funded.
very surprised if anybody does anything about this past today.
Wait.
Do you know, in the 2021 budget, our intelligence services, if you're talking about government institutions, they were just about one of the best funded. 38.6 B.
When others were getting budget cuts, the intelligence was getting an increase.
They were even added 1.5 billion.
And how here we are talking about something not even happening in far-flung areas where you can even talk about, communication. No. It's within the Nairobi metropolitan. These are jokes.
But Eric,
We will talk about this, I think, in the next hour in detail and call our security forces to.
perhaps respond to some of these things. But Eric, bear one thing in mind. If you look at the Business Daily headline, NIS secret supply deal with KEMSA. It appears that NIS were involved in supplying ventilators.
They supplied
Yes, 300 million
or they
shillings worth.
bought.
Supplied.
Okay.
Supplied. Now, those who are auditing these KEMSA issues were a bit puzzled. So, how did they procure these things in order to supply? And the ventilators were 100 according to this report. So, if the total value was 300 million, then it means one ventilator was 3 million shillings. So, you ask, what sort of ventilator was this really? And since when is NIS associated with procuring medical appliances? Since when?
You wouldn't really
In
put the
doing
two together.
business,
Yes.
since when is an intelligence agency?
Doing any kind of business.
Yeah. If you were telling me that they had gone to NIS to say we'd like this, to KEMSA and said we'd like this specifically for our own use, our facilities and our institutions, then maybe, if the story was the other way around, that KEMSA supplied NIS with ventilators, that's for them to use, okay. But that NIS supplied KEMSA ventilators, and then
the
they
thing
got
is,
paid.
In what capacity?
It wasn't just ventilators. It was, you know how it is when you talk about supplies for COVID, ventilators just part of it, okay? But this is what...
So we'll have to include even gloves and gumboots here.
Yes,
and
exactly. You see, the committee that was investigating this found it a bit strange because one of the things that there was a consignment that was received and it came from NIS and they wanted NIS.
And it was not a donation.
No, it wasn't a donation.
And NIS got paid.
And was there a contract signed?
Nope, those details are not given.
I wonder if
But there was
NIS
payment.
received money. Yeah,
There was
whether
payment.
payment to NIS.
Put it this way. Just like there are many questions that cannot be answered directly, as you ask those questions, should we agree that they fall into that category of
Yes,
things that cannot be answered directly?
clearly. Okay. So, shall we look at a village where drug lords rule? Not the mafia bosses of the 1920s, but in Makweni in 2020. February this year, a group of pupils from Iviini Primary School in Makweni County went to school drunk to the shock of the local community. Joel Mwangela, the head teacher, blamed parents who allow their children to be involved in brewing illicit liquor and selling marijuana. The school is situated in the hilly region bordering Mboni and Kaiti. After the drug menace that engulfed the region had been exposed, what followed were unending security meetings and blame games among local state officials. Nothing was done to remedy the situation. Now, murder, arson attacks, and general lawlessness reign over the expansive region, which includes Ngai sublocation, Kidhungo, Mboni, and the villages of Mutula and Uthenkeni in Kaiti sub-county, as drug cartels fight for territorial control. On Saturday, October 3rd, Consolata Achieng buried her son, Luciano Musa. Musa was killed on the 20th of September, allegedly by a notorious marijuana peddler. Musa became the latest murder victim of drug feuds that have rocked the region after another man was killed at the Kithangathini area, a place where youth meet for drug business. Achieng remembers the fateful night when she was called by unknown people who asked her to whisper her last words to her son, who was about to be killed. They called using my son's number. They said they would kill him and set his body on fire. They did not say why they wanted him dead, according to Achieng. And kill him they did in a most gruesome manner by chopping off his private parts. Separately, his two brothers were also attacked with machetes.
This is
Some gory stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
it sounds like it's just basically just gone completely out of control. Because the Kaiti Assistant County Commissioner, Jane Thiga, is also being quoted in this story, and she says the influx of illicit liquor is due to the lack of a market for sugarcane in the area. So she says that illicit liquor brewers are the ones that now step in to come and buy the sugarcane from the farmers, and they go and use it for brewing. So there's a commercial aspect here, that people are growing sugarcane and they have nowhere to sell their sugarcane. And so now there's, abundant supply of sugarcane, which then ends up going into breweries. They make this liquor. But now we're also talking about Bangi and the people just getting out of control, where they can kill so brazenly. Even call somebody's mother and say, talk to your son because you're killing him.
For sure. And it just goes along the lines of territory claimed by some of these individuals who want to control areas for commercial use and also, definitely for control. It sounds like stuff that the movies are made of, but this is a reality right now. The drug trade, notorious brewers and bang sellers are currently recruiting young people to do business. Their names have been forwarded to authorities, but nothing has been done. So she says, according to this same Jane Thiga, she blames the flow to the lack of, like you said, to this sugarcane lack in the area, but still that nothing has been done about it. Nothing can, quote unquote, be done about it.
There's a
It's
local
a story
priest.
that's being told.
There's a local priest called Father Dominic Mutinda of the Mukuyuni Catholic Church, who is actually blaming this on police. He says police have given the youth space to sell bang. I once tried to take the Mukuyuni police station boss to the affected villages, but he alighted from the car on the way. He claimed that police have their own operational plans. He was basically saying, Officer Twende, I show you
where it is.
Yeah, he goes, well,
We have our way of doing it.
we know how we're doing, how we do these things. So villagers are now mad because they're saying 11 notorious brewers and 4 bank sellers who are currently recruiting young people to the business, and their names have been forwarded to the police. And the police are basically just doing nothing. This is absolute.
I really have to ask this question. I have to, because when we look at the police service and what they're supposed to do, I have to ask this question every time these issues come up. Do we equip the police service with everything they need to carry out the duties that we demand of them? I have to ask the question.
In this particular case, what kind of equipment would they need?
Let me ask this question again. Do you think that the police are not aware that this business that we're now reading about is taking place? I believe they are very aware.
Yeah, just like that local OCS police boss confirmed.
Yes. Now, the equipment I'm referring to, first of all, it's not a question of guns and vehicles. Even when our police have had guns or they've had weapons, one of the things that we've had a problem with is just mobility. Was that problem solved, where police are actually able to adhere to calls when there's an emergency? They're able to actually present themselves there at the time. Remember, there used to be a joke in the times of the previous government when you would call the police and they'd say, well, we have a problem here. We don't have fuel for the vehicle. It became humorous, but it wasn't. You're being attacked by thugs. You've called the police, they have responded, but they're telling you they are unable to come to your rescue simply because they don't have fuel for their vehicles. Now, are we dealing with that same situation now, or are we dealing with a situation where we are arguing that our police service have gone completely rogue, and what they do is side the criminals? So it is a complete waste of time even reporting these matters to the police. Is that what we're dealing with?
I guess we're dealing with a mix of both. In this particular case, we're not just talking about even the police. We're also talking about the local government administrators. We have got chief, we've got the county commissioner, and that whole structure. All right? And then we also have the police. This is information that is known to the local chief. and the local police, they know these are the people and this is what they're doing. So what action have they taken? Have they arrested and taken any of these people to court? Have they held any meeting, for example, with these villagers who are now up in arms and complaining? Have they held a baraza and said, this is what we are hearing from you. This is how we can work together. Even, with the community policing, this is how we can work together because these people are known to you. This is how we can work together to help fight this menace. Has there been that kind of conversation that has happened here? We don't know. What we are seeing is a Catholic priest saying that I have raised this issue personally with the police. I have taken I've attempted to take the local police boss to show him where it's happening. And it appears like the police have given the youth space to sell ban. They're basically allowing them to go ahead with this business. It's important to try and understand from the security perspective, what is it that they are doing? What are the challenges that they're facing from the community? And what would they like to hear from the community? And then also hear from the community.
In 2007, amidst all the mayhem that took place, one of the things that happened within Kisumu town was that gangs within estates formed. There are many things that was happening, but there's one particular thing I want to point out. They would wait for you to alight from a matatu with your shopping, and they would take it. If you sent a child to the kibanda to buy something, after it had been bought, they would take it. Something similar happened. The police were spoken to, nothing happened. So the locals figured, something? We do know who these people are, don't we?
We do.
Yes. Step number one, tell the parents, these children of yours are the ones who are causing these problems. Please tell them to stop. Of course, nothing happened. So the locals simply took the law in their hands and they would go to the houses of these individuals, bring these fellows out and set them alight.
Yep.
With tires around them. You know what? It stopped. Completely. Those who are in that gang and those who are like-minded fled. They knew what was waiting for them was death. Now, do we want a situation where the public
Take
decide?
matters into their own hands.
Because that is usually the next step.
That's what's going to happen.
They may even be scared of the gangs, but there are more in terms of numbers in the gang. So the day they decide that,
Enough is
folks, enough is actually enough. Even these gangsters, these bank sellers, and these are people's children, they're people's relatives. Now, the truth of the matter is, that is where we are headed. The public will take the law into their own hands.
And unfortunately, there's nothing you're going to be able to do to stop them.
This
really is not going to
thing
happen.
that you want to do, what exactly is it that you're going to do?
Neither would you be able to hold them to any kind of blame or fault if they take the law into their own hands. It's going to be very, very difficult to reprimand in any way, shape, or form, especially when you had the opportunity to do something about it and you chose not to. Because truth be told, this is one example of things going wrong and law enforcers have not been able or have not been willing to do something about it. This is just one example.
You know what is tricky about power? That will be a transfer of power from the requisite government, state body that is mandated to the people. Now, the problem is getting back that power.
It will be difficult.
Oh, it will be difficult.
Yep.
People who then have it will not want to relinquish it.
Yep.
That is always the problem.
There will be a clash because the government will try to get back its power through force.
Yes.
And there will be a clash.
And there'll be resistance. And yet, we haven't gotten there yet. We haven't gotten
It's just about, if we talk about, and I start from, there's a county commissioner. Let's not even go into the county government because these are security matters. There's a county commissioner, there's a sub-county commissioner, there's chief, there's an entire structure. There's a county police commander, an entire structure going all the way down to the local police officers. What are those two doing? And these are security matters. When somebody is killed and the killers even go ahead and call the person's mother and say, we are about to. What is that? Why would you do that and just walk away free? This is just the security agencies failing to do their work. I think that's what it is. Today is a Tuesday, so the Financial Standard looks at very many stories. And today's Financial Standard is looking at Jubilee's new magic bullet for mega infrastructure projects. And this is looking at how the Jubilee government now, after going on a borrowing spree, has now turned a leaf. and has seen another good way of having this development mega infrastructure projects to be carried out is through PPPs. And so they have signed PPPs with several companies, including those that are now required to build, operate, and transfer, and they charge some amount of money for over some time. So we're looking at a number of those projects here. It says in 2018, the Treasury unveiled what they thought was a way out of this quagmire of borrowing, and they unveiled the Public-Private Partnership Disclosure Portal. The Treasury mandarins noted that PPPs were the country's savior in the face of mounting debt. With PPPs, the country could continue with its mega projects without busting the debt limit. And last week, Kenya moved closer to finalizing one such PPP. We know which one this is. This is the Rironi-Nakuru-Mau Summit Highway, going to cost 160 billion shillings. Some French companies are going to come and be involved in this. We have the Nairobi-Mombasa Highway at 300 billion shillings. The Nairobi Expressway project that's currently now being, it's already underway, 62 billion shillings. 10,000 kilometer road annuity, 260 billion shillings. There is the Mombasa Petroleum Trading Hub. There's a second Nyali Bridge project. All these are PPPs that now the government has decided, okay, instead of borrowing, there's another way to go.
Let's join hands. Okay.
Question is still, with the kind of deal that we're entering these PPPs, what is it that the government is committing? There have been questions, for example, that have been asked. So, is there a commitment that if you do not raise X amount of money on the road between JKIA and Westlands, then the government pays the rest? Is there a commitment, for example, that says that you cannot implement any other project that would appear to compete with a project that is this road? That means that you cannot now do another elevated road, for example, that goes towards Thika Road if it's going to take traffic from
This one, yes.
this one to
Because
Westlands.
there's a commercial aspect that
Yep,
you're
and there's a
waiting for
commitment
from
that
this.
you've
And
already
there's a
made.
commitment that you're going to hand over such a certain amount of money over a certain period of time. So you can't. You're locked in.
If we didn't have the history that we have, you might actually laud this and say this is pleasant. But because of our history, you look and you wonder, so we are actually getting into more debts, which we obviously cannot afford. How is this useful?
That is not really clear. Anyway, this and more we'll be discussing in coming days and trying to understand it and watch it as it unravels. Coming to the top of the hour, this is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room, also broadcasting on Spice FM KE, on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and www.spicefm.co.ke. We'll be live on KTN Home in the next hour. Good morning. It's now 7 o'clock.
Sugar and spice and everything I know. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Traffic.
All right, on Thika Road heading into the CBD. It looks like it's slow at Pangani, but it's moving. Slow, expected at this time. Traffic starts on Thika Road at Muthaiga on the highway. The service lane is clear though, and so those can be used. If you're on the highway, you're going to move a little bit slower than you'd like. Let's look into industrial area, then heading from the Landis Road area, and then well, we know that Likoni, Lunga are closed still because of the construction that's taking place on the road. So it seems to be a mess because other roads are in a deplorable situation. So that's affecting traffic. In and out of industrial area this morning is moving a lot slower than anticipated or liked or desired at this point, guys. Coming off of Mombasa Road, it's a parking lot, slow, and a bit slower. All the way from Lolongo heading then towards Cabanas. It's going to take some time to get out of this one, guys. So you need some patience if you had not planned to get out any earlier. All right, into the CBD from other parts of the city. Waiaki Way coming in from Westlands and then getting to the University Way roundabout. Inbound to town, not so bad. Outbound, however, there's traffic on Uhuru Highway all the way from the Nyayo Stadium roundabout headed well into Westlands. So if you're planning a journey, this is where you might get stuck. The outer bypasses of Eastern and Southern are open. You can use those as a longer route to get in and out of the city, but one that doesn't get you clogged up in traffic. Okay, text us 40127 or tweet us, Spice FM KE.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Nduh Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
2.5 minutes after 7. Thank you very much for tuning into The Situation Room. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. This and every morning we broadcast from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Spice FM 94.4 in Nairobi. In Mombasa, we are on 87.9. If you go to Kisumu, 102.5. If you're in Nakuru and its environs, it's 96.0. Eldoret and its environs, 96.7. Njeri in central Kenya, 90.9. Malindi and Kilifi, 97.7. And 102.5 in Kisumu. I believe I'd said that. Now, we're also live stream the show on www.spicefm.co.ke. We're also live streaming it on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter. And our channel and handles on all those accounts is Spice FM KE. For the next 2 hours, we'd like to welcome our audience on KTN Home. We are also on KTN Home. As we begin the hour, C.T. Muga, what is today's proverb?
Today's proverb, a monkey that eats grass instead of a banana is a goat.
A monkey that eats a banana. No. Monkey that eats grass instead of banana is a goat.
Exactly, a goat. Okay.
Well, just to be clear, there are those who might think the monkey was a vegetarian. No. Goat.
It's actually a goat.
It's goat.
Goat.
Okay. All right. And does the monkey know that?
That it's a goat?
That is a goat.
Oh.
Well, look at it this way. It's like asking, when you find livestock in town and you find them eating plastic, do they know they're eating plastic?
Do they know they're not supposed to be in town?
Mm.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
They know.
These are questions you want to ask.
Yeah.
Yes. So, they are even aware there's traffic.
We'd like to get to the point where we get the application of this today's
I
proverb.
know.
You know?
Well,
Me too.
think of it this way. If you look at the functions of proverbs or sayings in any community, it isn't one. They are varied. Okay? Among them, what is often obvious is that they hope to teach, help you in socializing. They want to tease you in correcting wrongs. And sometimes they want to highlight an issue by perhaps being very pointed about a matter. These roles, when they come into play, or when you consider them, then the proverbs begin to make a little more sense, and you can even categorize them and say, this particular proverb, I think, falls into this category. Okay. Some are just for entertainment, really. Some are stating the obvious in a manner that is interesting to listen to. Yes. I mean, like, for instance, there's one which I find particularly interesting. If the sun claims superiority over the moon, let it shine at night.
I like that one.
Mischievous, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yes. And it serves its purpose.
Okay. Let's talk about, again, what happened over the weekend, because it's still big and it's still ongoing. It's a conversation that's still taking place in the country. 2 people died at Kennel in Murang'a on Sunday. And this is because of political skirmishes with 2 groups that were trying to fight over the deputy president attending a meeting in Murang'a. The 2 people who died, one was a 21-year-old man, married, has left behind a family. The other one was a 15-year-old teenager. Died. None of these people was, the way we say, caught in the crossfires and shot by police, and now we are demanding action from the police. No. These were basically just killed by people who are unknown, suffered stab wounds, and they died. We're talking about a 15-year-old child, because this is a child, who, according to his family, was going about his chores. Then he heard from friends that this is happening and that there was going to be some politicians who were coming around, and of course they were going to be giving out some little cash here and there. And the young man just thinking, well, if it's just here and I can go and have a look and maybe end up benefiting one way or the other. Young man goes out there, young man dies. And when you now see what kind of reaction we saw, immediately we saw the Inspector General of Police asking the DCI to investigate this matter and to summon and record statements from two political leaders from Murang'a County. And this is Nduh Okoh and Alice Wahome. We saw yesterday the two leaders saying they do not respond to summonses via social media. So they have not been summoned, so they have not gone to record any statement. We also saw, again, political leaders, other political leaders from Murang'a County holding a media conference yesterday. And this was attended by the governor of Murang'a, Mwangi wa Iria, the senator, Irungu Kangata, the woman reps, Sabina Wanjiru, other MPs from the area, apart from these two that we're talking about, the MCAs from the area led by the majority leader in the county assembly. And they all came together and they issued another strongly worded statement saying any other meeting that happens in Murang'a, the MC is going to be Governor Wairia. Or in the absence of Governor Wairia, it's going to be the senator. In the absence of the senator, it's going to be the woman rep, or all of them combined. You see, they are still just holding strong and going about as if people did not die. Then we also look back at the security system. And yesterday when we were having this conversation, one of our callers from Kilifi County Justice, he said, perhaps it's about time we had somebody like Okoh Mtata, who is very litigious and he goes to court to seek, to push for rights, went to court and said, we demand action from the security forces, or we demand answers from the security forces. Are you saying that security agencies in the country were unable to really protect these two people who died? Are you saying that the security agencies were not aware of what was happening in Murang'a, even the planning of this? We are seeing a story today in the papers that says politicians ferried paid gangs to fight. And this is quoting security forces saying, they were aware meetings were happening as early as Wednesday last week. The hiring of matatus to ferry people from Nairobi, from areas near Thika, to go and have these skirmishes on Sunday. If intelligence knew, if security forces knew, then why did it happen? It's about time maybe that we start asking questions of our security agencies. Whenever we see this kind of political skirmishes, what we see is tough worded statements from the police bosses saying we demand that these people come and record statements, or they're even arrested in the middle of the night and they are ferried kilometers, and then it happens that that goes to an end. It comes to an end. Nothing further happens. We have had issues in Marsabit, for example, for many years. And whenever there's an issue in Marsabit, what is it that we hear from police? MP so-and-so, 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 come and record a statement. And that's the end of it. And this morning, I think we just need to shine a spotlight on our security agencies and intelligence services. If we are seeing this kind of rhetoric happening now, if we are seeing this kind of action happening and activity happening now, where are you? Are you unable to stop it before it happens? Are you watching and saying, let it happen and then we shall deal with it? In the meantime, people die. In the meantime, people get maimed. People's businesses are disrupted. Then what? Why do we have intelligence and security forces?
Because that intelligence has got, I think about it, and the very use of intelligence is so that it can inform actions that you will take in the future. If you have, or you're privy to information that's coming your way, or likelihood of something happening in the future, then you can make a decision based on that, right? And you've seen things like this before. If you were to ask the average Kenyan, some people actually went about and did yesterday, is that when you see these political meetings called, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? It was very interesting. They said that there's likely to be chaos. So if the common man, without any intelligence whatsoever, would have the feeling that things are likely to go south when you have a meeting of conflicting sides like this, or whatever, or clashes like this, when people are all called to come to one place, the likelihood of there being drama is actually very high. So now you can imagine those who have the intelligence then can infer that there might be something that would go wrong. So the next best step, in my opinion, and which makes sense, is for you to say that meetings of this kind then should not hold, should not take place. There must be another way that you can get your message across that doesn't invite any kind of violence, that doesn't then result in the loss of lives. So there you have this intelligence for a reason, and we should actually get to a place where it's being used to protect the people of the country. And should not be used for political gain in any way, shape, or form. Because if you look, however we want to look at it, you don't want to say that politicians are rejoicing at the fact that individuals died on Sunday, but there's some kind of mileage that they got from this, which they would be very happy about.
Do they actually care?
There you go. Do they actually care? But there is some kind of mileage that they've gained that they're rejoicing about at this moment. That somebody is seeing you at some point as having won or having gained some steps in a forward movement. That is very unfortunate, in the light, right in the face of the death of some people. Now, this is one area in the country that this has happened, over a meeting that was likely to take place later in the day on Sunday, right? Now, you want to escalate it to what would happen in the country in the coming weeks, in the coming months, and it's about time. It's the time now. It was the time a long time ago to be able to say, use the intelligence to be able to inform decisions that would essentially go towards the protection and peace of the people. And if it doesn't happen, it's going to get ugly. Call me the forebinger of doom, but it is going to happen.
You know, it was a Sunday meeting. Now, Sunday for many people in this country is known as the day when people actually go to church. It is the last day you would actually think a problem like this would arise, wouldn't you? You can actually nod.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
You would assume. Yes.
You'd assume. But then, what I found strange, even stranger than this, is there was a harambe. Leaders were allowed to speak. The things that people ended up saying in a church, there's this assumption, and clearly it's assumption that has proved that its sell-by date has arrived and passed. But in a church setting, there are certain things that will be said and certain things which will not be said. Now, when you get to a point where a church meeting, a church harambe, a church gathering becomes just your average and ordinary political rally, you see, again, fingers now point to the church. Fingers now point to the role of the church. Fingers now point to the moral guidance that the church is supposed to provide, and you realize we have a problem on our hands here. We have a serious problem. That politicians believe that is something they can do. Have you heard any pushback from religious leaders?
I saw some statement yesterday from some religious leaders, and of course, you know, what they do is they urge restraint. They implore upon our leaders. Let us remember that we are all Kenyans, that we ought to uphold peace. That is what we see.
That's not pushback.
That's what we see from political leaders. I mean, from religious leaders.
That is called whitewashing.
It's as if these human beings called politicians are untouchable. You cannot stand up and speak out against a politician. You cannot. Let's speak Kenyanese. Even if who you are, you cannot stand up and speak up against politicians. I saw the statement from the ODM party leader, for example, Raila Odinga, and his was also the same way. You know, I call for an end to this. Let's stop early political campaigns. You know, let's uphold peace. Let's stand up and look. We're talking like this. Do you think any statement that came out of Raila's words yesterday is going to make anybody think, oh my God, yeah, Raila said something, let's listen?
No.
Do you think any religious leader that spoke yesterday is going to make anybody think, okay,
No.
Do you think any summonses by the police is going to make any political leader think, oh my God, no, they're after me? Absolutely not.
This is all water off a duck's back, essentially. Because what's going to happen is that those who've already planned to do things, I wouldn't be surprised. There are the people who have planned to do this coming in the future. And they're ready to call these meetings. They've put aside, because in the absence of any kind of proper explanation or any kind of proper action, you can only speculate and assume that there are people who've already lined up their arsenal and are waiting for the months to come to do the same thing that we saw happen on Monday. Not necessarily plan to kill anybody, but to put together these meetings that could result in violence. And that's what we're saying. Be warned. Be careful. The action will be taken if you are the ones who've asked for this to happen. Look at what we are seeing, that it was clear that these trips are sponsored. Somebody's paying money to get these folks to come together. People have put their money aside to make sure that they have groups who are going to come together and cause chaos that will eventually end in death. This is what happened on Sunday. So shouldn't people be held responsible? And shouldn't the warning signals be sent out that anybody who's planning to do this in the future, be warned that we're not going to accept this anymore? But the problem is that, unfortunately, it would seem as if that you're already in bed with some of these folks anyway. So how are you then going to come out with the hard arm of the law and say we cannot accept this to be anymore? When you've been doing this romantic dalliance with them before, it will be very difficult to then get them to stand correct. How do you divide the two?
You see, this, unfortunately, my mind goes back to 2007. When you got to a point where people were being burnt in a church, a priest was murdered, people were being attacked in their homes, and even the prelude before then, when in certain parts of the Rift Valley you would hear of groups of people going to homes, causing mayhem, burning homes, killing people. You actually have to ask the question, in all this, where were the security forces? Where? Because that's what they're supposed to do. Let's forget about the roadblocks, okay? Sorry, let's forget about the toll stations, okay? If you look at what's happening right now, my mind, unfortunately, is very unsettled with it. It means we are sitting back and watching something unfold before our very eyes.
Yep.
And we've even seen it happening before. And we are not doing what we ought to do and standing up against it forcibly and saying no. Sorry, no.
And even worse, CT, it's standing there looking you in the face and saying, in the very near future, I am still coming at you.
Yes.
And still, people are just doing this hand-holding, let me walk you through the park kind of action with this. And not really dealing with it.
Come and see us. Come and talk to us. Oh.
Just you come here, let's see what it is that you have to say. And then maybe
And
you
even
explain to us
waiting
while I
days
serve you a
after
cup
it
of
has
tea.
happened.
Was on Tuesday.
You are taking action after it has happened. If indeed what we are seeing in the papers this morning is true, that intelligence services knew about these meetings that are taking place in hotels, 3 hotels, one in Moranga, one in Maragua, one in Thika Town, and the third on Thika Road, were used by the rival factions to plan how the youths would be mobilized. Each youth was promised between 500 and 1,000 shillings, according to detectives who were telling the nation. The first gang was to prevent the DP's entourage from going past Kennel on the border between Murang'a and Kiambu County. The other was supposed to counter any attempt to scuttle the DP's safe passage into Murang'a or deal with anyone who tried to prevent them from the event taking place. If indeed it is possible, and it is highly likely, that if this was planned, then intelligence was also aware of the planning. That if the police officers, because the police officers had been deployed there, there's a reason why police were at the scene on that day. It's because they had some information that there was likely to be skirmishes. Why didn't you stop it before it took place? Why didn't you stop before these people boarded these matatus? Why didn't you take action at that point? Why are you now asking political leaders to come and record statements after the fact? The fact is a 15-year-old boy is dead. And we are not going to bring back that 15-year-old boy. It doesn't matter whether Hillary Mutiambai stands and speaks and froths on the mouth. It doesn't matter. The boy is dead. That's it. If officers under Hilary Mutyambai knew that there was a likelihood of violence taking place, they should have acted well in advance and stopped it. And this is what we have to call out today. This is why we have security agencies. We've got to feel secure in our own country.
We've had in the past situations when those who are aligned to the opposition of government at that time were stopped on many occasions from holding rallies. Stopped. Now, we know what happens when the security forces actually act and do what they're supposed to do. So, what is it that made them not do what they were supposed to do in this particular occasion?
Yep.
You see, the problem with this violence, you see, what it does, it sets a prelude for more violence, not less. Because this isn't the end of meetings in Muranga. This isn't the end of meetings in any part of the country. Now, the bar has been set.
Oh, for sure. Look, I mean, what are we talking about? We entered into this political silly season a while ago, right? And these things have already started. Leave alone all these pundits who are talking about the fact that, campaigning hasn't really started. It started a while ago,
Yes.
right? And you're already applying the formula of now bringing in young people who then are going to be the perpetrators of violence, and then the blame will be shifted to them. But unfortunately, what we see on Sunday, there's already blood in the water. There's already blood in the water, and it's going to stain as far as you want it to, unless it's nipped in the bud and unless something is done about it. But it's already there, and it has already polluted the waters in which we are seeing, these political waters in which people are so quickly swimming into. And we're joking around with it. I'm telling you, if it's not done, today's Tuesday, by tomorrow, this story is dead.
What we need
It's
to see
finished
now
until
is
another
action.
one happens in the coming weekend.
Yep, action. And in fact, we need to say we ought to hear nothing from these political leaders. So yesterday they were speaking. MP Nduh Okoh and Alice Wahome were speaking on one side, and then the other ones, the governor, the woman rep, the senator, and the other MPs in Muranga were also speaking. Yes, you could argue that they were saying, we want to have peaceful meetings, we're going to have meetings, and these are we're going to conduct our meetings. But you know what? Every time they make a statement, they are drumming the war drums.
Yeah.
Every time they make a statement, it doesn't matter whether it is the governor or it is Nduh Okoh and Alice Wahome. Whatever they are saying. Listen, for example, to what Nduh Okoh said yesterday.
I want to warn you. Let us fight among ourselves as human beings. But let us not take our political nonsense to churches. We must stop taking political gimmicks in barrios. Kama munataka maneno yote ya sarakazi ya siasa, tupatane huku kwa mahoteli na tusitumie watoto wa wengine. Sabina Wajiro Shege, Matiangi and Kefisho. The next time you are planning for chaos, please call your sons who are studying abroad.
When and that's what I'm saying, we ought to stop hearing this, because he now is trying to throw in names, to say, the woman rep, to say the interior PS, just because he can call out names, that therefore shifts blame from him to the others. Just because if you're Sabina Wanjiru Shege, then you can also address the press conference and say, no, I was not involved and you should be the one who is answerable, then we are also shifting blame. I think we should just gag all these leaders.
Is this not the same person who not very long ago, in a church setting, really treated the entire nation with some very interesting drama? And he had to hide.
One and the same.
Yes, one the same fellow.
Yep.
He was supposed to have been seen in hiding in some media house. All manner of things. Same person?
Yeah, just earlier in the week, there was a burial in Muranga, and he was echoed off the stage, same leader,
Yes.
by other leaders. I mean, this is something that is happening just much more too frequently nowadays. That is, we're even getting to a point where a headline is talking about now Muranga becoming a restive region because of politics, because this is now becoming the new battleground
Had this...
for Jubilee and Tanga. Really.
Had this
Battleground means death.
Yes. This was Muranga known for this? The answer is no.
You know what? I think there should be a gag on this thing, because people actually put a lot of weight. And look, it's a game of politics. People put a lot of weight on the words that come from politicians. When they're in the mode and in that whole spirit of speaking, like what this gentleman just said, and what he said yesterday, when they're in the mode of that, people are going to pick up on the very little nuances that you put in there, because people are not hearing anything you've said apart from the fact that, oh, okay, there's somebody on the other side who's also sponsoring something, and so that fuels us a little bit more, and we also want to get riled up as well and see what we're going to do come the next opportunity. Everybody should be stopped from this kind of speak. Stop it.
Completely.
Stop it.
Let's take a break
Yeah.
at 26 minutes after 7. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. Broadcasting on Spice FM, on KTN Home and online, www.spicefm.co.ke, and Spice FM KE on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. When you come out of this break, we'll check your calls 0719 012 600. Good morning.
Spice FM, Nakuru. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Spice up your
Sunshine
life.
and good vibes in Nairobi. 16 degrees. We're looking at highs of 28 and lows of 13 today. It's likely to be a very warm day in the capital. 16 degrees in Njeri and sunny conditions this morning. However, that will change later with a chance of a sprinkle later with highs of 25 and lows of 13. Nakuru is sunny this morning at 14 degrees. Highs of 24 and lows of 13 with a chance of rain later on. Eldoret also will be wet this afternoon at 22. The high and lows of 12. Currently partly cloudy conditions at 14 degrees. All right. Kisumu is mostly sunny at 21, highs of 29 and lows of 19 with a chance of showers in the afternoon. Looks like those rains will go into Kakamega as well. Highs of 26 and lows of 16. Mombasa is partly cloudy this morning at 25, highs of 29 and lows of 24. And Malindi follows suit with partly cloudy conditions at 26 and a rise to warm high of 29 degrees. Kampala is partly cloudy this morning at 19, going to highs of 27 and a chance of rains later on. And in Dar es Salaam, it's partly cloudy at 24. It'll be warm today in Dar, 32 the high and lows of 22. Let's take a look at Joburg, where it's mostly sunny at 13 degrees, drop just a tad, but then it'll go to highs of 19 today and cloudy conditions in the later part of the day. The rain continues to come down in Lagos, isolated thunderstorms at 29 degrees. That'll be the high for today, with lows of 24.
Chilled Spice. .5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Okay, the Eastern Bypass today is locked in both directions, in and outbound. So whether you're heading to Mombasa Road or you're heading to Thika Road, at this point, the Eastern Bypass is a no-go zone. Not really sure what the issue is, but it's moving, or actually not moving slowly. It's not moving at all. It's jam-packed there. All right, getting off of Mombasa Road and trying to get into the CBD as well. Looking a lot slower this morning. It is Tuesday and it seems that everything has woken up, guys. So if you're in that area, it's going to need some patience before you get out of that one. Uhuru Highway is clogged up all the way from the stadium, the roundabout, just finishing Nyayo Stadium and headed then towards Westlands. That's moving very slowly, but it's moving all the same. We're right in the middle of traffic hour. It's going to get a bit frustrating wherever you are at this point, except if you're coming off Thika Road where it's not too bad. Spice FM KE, that's how you can reach us on Twitter or text us 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
7:30. The conversation continues. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation, broadcasting on Spice FM, KTN Home, and www.spicefm.co.ke online. In the room this morning is Eric Latiff, Nduh Okoh, Njeri Muga. You wanted to say something before we went to the break, City?
Actually, what I wanted to say was this. You see, the problem is not what you're seeing, but what it portends.
Mm-hmm.
You see, it's pointing you to a future that we really do not want, neither do we need. If you look at any situation in any part of the world which later became known as a terrible occurrence, a massacre, the annihilation of Jews, think of anything, it usually begins with matters such as these, which seem like a small incident that people just ignore. But it sets the stage. Because what is happening now, our political parties and their leaders seem to have determined that they've gone through the process of profiling. We now have friends and we have foes. Now, what we saw over the weekend was how to deal with foes. Now, that commodity is actually exportable. And unfortunately, you do not lack the sort of human resource to fill that particular docket. You don't. There are many young people, unemployed, energetic, with not very much to do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Now, whatever the situation is, remember the time when we had people uttering unutterable. And then something happened on 2 weekends. Certain luminaries got arrested. And they were just arrested, taken to police cells. Did that nonsense not stop?
It paused.
That's what I was going to say, temporarily.
Yes. But were people not a little more cautious about opening their mouths and just saying anything that sort of like jumped to the mouth and just bypassed the brain?
For the next fortnight, yes.
Yes. Now, why did it just last for a fortnight? Why didn't it go longer?
Because every other observer is just looking at it and seeing nothing happening to those ones. In fact, there are those that argue that whenever these politicians are arrested, their stock rises. They go back home and they become the heroes. They're like, oh my goodness, this man, he's even gone through the valley of the shadow.
So we should argue that they shouldn't be arrested at all.
Not just arrest. You see, arresting and then releasing, and then they are back as if nothing happened.
Eric, there's something here that we really must consider realistically. We have a constitution. Unfortunately, that constitution, if you are to follow it, doesn't allow you to just arrest people and take them straight to jail and keep them there as long as you like. It happens.
Yes.
But if you happen not to have the might to be able to fight this thing legally, you will be able to be released simply because this same constitution allows you to be let out on bail unless you commit certain crimes or it is alleged that you are being held for certain criminal activities.
You know, even coming out on bail, that is fine. The thing is, are you being subjected through the justice system or not?
You are.
And I'm arguing that you are not. Just because you've been arrested and you've recorded or you've been summoned to the DCI and you've recorded a statement and then you've gone back home and then no further action has been taken against you, you haven't been charged in court. Or even if you're charged in court, then it's some flimsy charge that cannot hold because there's no witness to come and present this before court. This is one. If, and I keep going back to the point, if it is possible for you to tell that this is likely to happen and you stop it before it happens, because it's possible for you to stop it before it happens. You've got all the power by law to stop it before it happens. If you haven't stopped it, then if it happens, go right ahead and use everything in your arsenal to ensure justice. What we see is politicians summoned to police stations, they record statements, they are taken to court, they're given a gag order for a couple of days, they go ahead and record social media clips saying, mimi nataka kuambia nyinyi wenzangu, muongee. Unajua mimi nimeambiwa. A politician did that over the weekend. Said, I have been gagged, but you haven't.
You can speak.
Nyinyi muongee. Mimi nimeambiwa.
Has that person broken any law?
They haven't. But that's where the problem is.
That's the problem, because the incitement that we are talking, that's incitement, clear. It's clear. You don't have the right to speak, but do you see, the thing is, they realize the power that they have in speaking. They realize whatever messages,
they're politicians.
Yes, for sure. Whatever message they're going to put in the minds of somebody else. That's why I'm saying the people who have been arrested temporarily, charged, whatever in court, come out. It's a small sacrifice for them to pay. It really doesn't matter.
Is it even a sacrifice?
It is not a sacrifice.
From where they look at it,
Yeah.
that means that they can go back and say
It's an investment.
Absolutely. Say and do whatever they want to do in the future because they know that they will not be held to any kind of repercussion whatsoever.
So how
as it has been practiced up till now.
And we even hear
there
them
is nothing
bragging.
major that exactly. They'll even come out and it's like they have war wounds to show.
You know
Look
me,
at what
I've been
through
arrested
the
many
trenches.
times. You
Yeah.
know that. You
I've
people
been through
know.
the
I've
trenches.
been
Nothing has happened.
fighting for your
Angani.
cause?
It's for you that I've been doing this. So let's not allow this to continue. And that is the attitude that's being put out there. So you're inciting people, you're riling them up. So in their minds, they know, come the next opportunity, this too we will fight. And again, I'm telling you, the people who are being put out there on the front lines have no idea what the fight is about. It's not their fight. But they're being used. And this kind of... Who knows who stabbed this 15-year-old boy? Who knows? Nobody knows. Who knows who killed the 21-year-old? Nobody knows. When there's mass action and mass violence like that, and people are trodden over and then people die, who knows who actually killed them? The person who did it, do you think that they had a personal vendetta against the person that they killed?
Do they even know this boy?
Do they even
have
know who he was?
Absolutely no idea.
I have no
who
idea.
that boy is.
But because somebody gave you between 500 and 1,000 shillings and told you to show up, to fight for a cause that, truth be told, you're least interested in. What you're interested in is eating that day. But you're fighting on behalf of somebody else who wants to be put in a position whereby they are not going to influence or benefit your life for the better. Let's just call it as it is. It's not going to help you in any way. No benefit whatsoever. People are going to lose their lives. But you're still being used as the ones who are going to perpetrate this. And I'm telling you, like I said, the waters have been bloodied. It is going to get worse. And I am saying that there is something that can be done about it, but it's being pussyfooted about. It's nobody's really the people who have the power to do something about it are not doing anything about it. Plain as day. And I'm going to go back to the security agencies. The security agencies, you have the information, you can do something about it.
These are state
you have
agencies.
State agencies with the power and machinery to do something about it, and you choose not to. Why? Because it's because it's politicians who would be in power tomorrow. Because is it that politicians would be in power tomorrow who have some kind of influence over you? Take the responsibility.
They actually did do something.
After
Which is what?
the fact.
Nothing.
After the fact, questions are being asked that a 10-year-old child could ask. What happened? Then you're asking people to basically come for a tea party. Come and tell us what happened. Who are you kidding?
Not the first time.
Who are you kidding?
When you see incidences of cattle rustling up north, what do you hear? Politicians have been summoned to record statements. When you see, again, I'll repeat, when you see issues happening in Marsabit, what do you hear? Politicians have been summoned to record statements. Same things happen in Mau. There's some skirmishes, politicians have been summoned to record statements. Now, we're even seeing it here. There's a political rally somewhere, something goes wrong, politicians have been summoned to record statements, to Tawashika, or you arrest them in the middle of the night, or whatever you do, and then that's it. Are you telling me that we do not have enough information, intelligence, to indicate who perpetrates cattle rustling? Are you telling me that it's not possible to arrest the people who perpetrate cattle rustling? Are you telling me it's not possible to forestall a cattle rustling raid to a village that ends up killing people? People die. The aftermath of it, you find an entire village is mourning because people died, because there were people who came and raided. And then when you hear this from the national political leaders, no, this is actually a political issue. When you see this cattle rustling, there's some link to politics. There's some links to business interests. It's no longer just what used to happen traditionally in cattle rustling. No. Now this has been taken over. And this is what intelligence and security officers will tell you,
They just
after the fact.
They actually stop short of just telling you that it's actually a cultural sport.
Yeah.
Yes, you rustle our cattle, then we rustle yours.
And what we do is we just give a yellow card to the people that we think are involved, yellow card, and you can continue playing.
Yes, then we take a break for a week. Actually, most of these things, there's the argument that a lot of the fighting, for instance, up north, has to do with one simple resource, water. Okay? But as Eric correctly puts it, if you actually ask and talk to people who live in that area, they will even name names of people who instigate this. They make it a clan issue, and yet it actually isn't a clan issue. And it's being called a political issue. Is it really a political issue?
You know what I think it is actually, as I look at it a little bit more. And I say, you know what? This then serves as a test. Muranga, kind of like a litmus test on two sides for you to see, okay, the potential of what could actually happen for the people who have already planned, because let's not put it beyond them, for people who've already planned and lined up their finances and their arsenal and the machinery to then help them in their political fight and to say, oh, okay, this one happened on Sunday. Not too bad, right? Collateral damage was not too terrible. An example of what we can actually use, right? And for those who said, actually, you know what? Even if we try to do something like this, chances of us, being reprimanded just a little bit, a smack on the wrist, that's just about what you're going to get.
Yep.
But eventually I'm going to get where I want to go politically.
Yep.
There are those who've looked at it and said, fantastic.
This is an avenue for us.
I can use this as well. That's the danger.
Should we then now not ask the question?
That is the danger.
Should we now not ask the question, what is really happening here? When you bring in the issue of it being a litmus test, trial run. Let's see what happens here.
Yeah.
So, what really do you think is actually happening on the national level?
I think politicians get to a point where they focus so much on their game. We've got to accept that politicians are playing their game, and they have pushed the envelope so far that they decided that they want to create their own rules of how they want to play this game. Everything else be damned. When, for example, you see now those leaders who met in Muranga yesterday, and they declared that Muranga is our zone. If you want to come, an outsider wants to come, you must inform us that you want to come. If an outsider wants to come, I must be present, or you will not be able to visit this area. What exactly are you saying? That you have created rules and decided that this is my area, this is my zone, that you can only come to speak to me. It's the same nonsense that we saw when that other time when they were arguing about who should be the MC in a church service. Because I am the area MP, therefore I should be the MC.
And you should seek permission
and
from me.
And you should seek permission before you even arrive here and talk to me. Who told you that? Who told you that Muranga is yours? Muranga does not belong to Mwangi wa Iria or Sabina Wanjiru Shege or even Dende Nyoro and Alice Ohome. Muranga belongs to the people of Muranga and the country at large. Anybody can come from Mpeketoni in Lamu and go to Muranga and speak to the people and go back. There should be absolutely no time where we allow politicians to decide, this is how we're going to play this game now. If I want to come to Kiambu, I shall make sure that I speak to the local leader of Kiambu. Then I shall come. You don't have to. Who said?
You almost get the impression that you need to book in advance an opportunity to seek permission to pass through Makutano on your way to Njeri.
Yes.
Now, there are very many people who use that road. So, what are the limits?
You're going to Moyale, you get permits.
Yes. What it tells you, in attempting to answer the question I asked myself, is the mindset of the politician. It's actually a profound understanding into the way that mind works. But by the time someone is issuing some of those imperial edicts, because it's an imperial edict, okay, you shall not. We, Sisi.
Yeah.
One person is talking,
Yep.
but it is Sisi, okay? It amounts to saying that this imperial territory of ours, called Muranga, belongs to us, the leaders of Muranga.
Yep.
Forget the people. And we are telling you how it is we want this imperial property of ours to function. Now, if you just wish to have any dealings with the people in this geographical area, then you must seek written permission from us. And you must give a week's notice before you actually get the interview to be allowed to come and...
And management reserves the right of admission.
They do. And a proof of age is also required.
Yes.
Now...
Plus a letter from your local chief.
Right.
Precisely. And also an introductory letter from...
Your father or husband had this right.
Usually, this we'll let that one go. We'll ask for the religious leader of the particular faith institution that you attend, just a letter of introduction accompanied by, of course, a certificate of good conduct.
And then we shall not consider, we may consider. Here, shall does not mean we will. It
Doesn't
just
mean
means
you
that
must either.
Must. You can apply today, we'll consider it for 2025.
This demagogy is dangerous. It is literally literally dangerous. Because it is just one hop away from declaring that if you happen to come from a particular area, you should not even be seen in the vicinity of that area. And that is one hop away from saying, if you come from a particular area, then you are our sworn enemy. Now, these are people who haven't caused you any harm. They are not even involved in your problems, but it tends there. Essentially, there's us here, and these are the rules by which we are going to abide. And then there's you there. It appears that it's a Kieleweke and it is a Tangatanga issue. No. These are the same issues that cause the sort of tribal issues that we talk about, and they call national turmoil. Because the next thing is you're going to profile people, and suddenly you are going to have very divisive and very corrosive and very harmful utterances coming from the mouth of our politicians. And it has started. The moment someone dares say such a thing, it can tell you it's a clear path. You're being told this is how they think.
Yeah.
So what makes you think when they acquire a new enemy, you think they're going to think differently?
Of course not.
No.
In fact, they'll be not acquiring new enemies, they'll be creating new enemies.
Yes.
How they thrive is by having an enemy.
Yes.
If you don't have an enemy, then you have nothing to talk about. So you must create an enemy so that you have something to talk about and incite the emotions of the people.
Yes, and join the people in ensuring that they also understand that this enemy that you have manufactured is also their
It's
enemy.
a common enemy.
Yes.
You know, it's an enemy to all of us.
And of development and progress.
We demand action from our state agencies. Forget the politicians, forget anybody else. We pay taxes, we demand actions from our state agencies on this. They are security agencies, you have information, you know exactly what happened prior to the Sabasaba incident. You know exactly who was involved prior to the Sabasaba incident. If you know them, take action on them. Stop saying that you know you're summoning two political leaders and then you have nothing tangible on them. If you have something tangible on them as well, get them, take them to court. This is what we are demanding. We'd like to know whether you agree with us or what do you think. 0719-012-600 or SMS 40127. You can call in 0719-012-600. This is, we're getting to a point where, everybody is sitting back and saying, if we go down this road, we are treading dangerous path.
Well, look.
Everybody right now is saying that, but everybody is afraid of saying, we want.
Eric, we're actually on the road. We're not heading down that road. We're already on it.
It's already there.
We are on it.
Look, if you want, if you just look at the African continent and look at the main civil wars that took place, whether they took place in the previous century or this one, it started on words that people spoke. That was the first line.
Yeah.
And those words then became they had been thoughts, and then they became words, and then they became actions. And they got people to stand on their side in one way or another. It's a very, very thin line.
Let's go to the phone lines. Eric calling in from Nduh Okoh. Good morning. Hello, Eric.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Good morning to you. How are you?
I'm good, and you people?
We are well,
thank you.
Yeah, there's one thing I'm very much concerned and very much disappointed with the security agents in our country.
Mm-hmm.
They are playing games that these games are protecting even other people who are criminals. Let me use that word, criminals. They are unable to stop this person known as Ruto to hold meetings and rallies. Going as far as that the same people who are issuing permits and they're coming to tell us that doing investigation.
Yeah.
What kind of investigation is that? This shows us that in 2022, what will happen? And Ruto should be stopped holding rallies. That is the first thing. And he should not hide in churches that is doing harambe.
Eric, may I ask a question? Don't you think that the deputy president has the same rights as every other citizen of this country to associate freely, the freedom of association? Does he not have it like every other citizen?
He has the right, yes, well.
So why pick on him?
But he should use the right channel of doing his rally. If I were the IG today, the first person to arrest was Ruto.
All right, Eric, we hear you. Let's hear from Ed Gitonga in Njeri. Good morning, Ed.
I would like to tell you, Moranga sio Kenya. Remember that phrase that Mombasa Republican Council used to use?
Yeah.
It's like the same thing Moranga guys are doing. But let me tell you this, the ignorance and the arrogance that the politicians are having is the same that the security forces are using. Because I actually fail to wonder why on earth are people still working? Why on earth would a politician call for a conference instead of condoling the family? The politician is calling a conference to say, you know what, when you come here, this is my home. You need to get permission. Are you for real?
Tough questions.
And I can tell you this. Sorry?
Tough questions, those words.
Yeah, because I wonder this. You know, I was flipping through channels in the morning, and one of the Kikuyu stations I came to see the mother of the 15-year-old kid, and the pain that woman had. That the woman herself, she's saying, never in my life, to my grave, will I ever go and vie and participate in any election whatsoever.
Yeah.
The
Ed,
same.
let me just catch you short, Ed, because we've get your point. Let's hear from Mungai calling in from Kennel. Good morning, Mungai.
Good morning, how are you?
We are well, thank you.
I'm so happy to be on the line.
Yep.
Now, I have 2 or 3 issues concerning Sunday event. Myself, I was there. Hello?
Yes.
Myself, I was there. And I'm wondering why the police are taking us around. Before even buses came, that was telling people we were having police. Okay?
Yes.
If you know Keno very well,
Yep.
the front way on going to Moranga is a market.
Yes.
So the only place that you can be able to do a lot of other things is the way the road that's going to Sagana,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yes.
So the bus just came up where the church is in the middle.
Yep.
In the beginning, we thought that these people are coming from other dioceses. You see the confusion, eh?
Yep.
Yes.
When the bus came with people, we thought it's bring some other people from other dioceses. So we could not have detected fast that they are coming for war.
But the police were already on the ground.
Yes, they were there. Look at the clips.
Okay.
Look at the clips. Just tell me, my brother. When you did a trial at 7:30 in the morning,
Yeah.
what kind of a sign is that? And the police is there.
They were there early.
Yeah, they were there early. The place was peaceful, right? But somebody has just come from a bus with the tire. Na amewakisha. Inakwambia nini? There's danger.
Impunity completely. What
In fact, the police could have
what message would you have for the police, Mungai?
They should not take us around.
Okay. What should they do?
They should go for those people who came from Kendutu. Besides, and I'm very sorry because of those people who lost their loved ones. I'm so sorry for them. But the question is, because we arrested about 10 or 15 people from Kendutu, right? Why don't the police go there at the same village in Kendutu? Because there are those people who organized. They can get proper evidence from there. Two, my brother.
Yep.
If it is well that something was organized since from Thursday, and it was not just a normal rally, it was a church function.
Yep.
Just tell me on earth, how can an OSPD go to church and take a microphone from a preacher? Yeah? What kind of orders was he having the OSPD to go to the church? I have never seen this there before.
Mungai, we hear you and we hear your pain. We hear
Yes.
your pain, Mungai. Thank you very much for calling in. And yes, this is why we are saying today we joined people like Mungai in demanding action from our security agencies. There is a lot of information that you must be having by now. Take action. Summoning political leaders and then they come out and, sort of stick a finger at you and say, we don't respond to summonses from social media. This is joking. Anyway, time for us to take a break at 5 minutes to 8 o'clock. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room on Spice FM, on KTN Home. We'll be back and have more conversations. Remember, we had said in the 8 o'clock hour, we want to ask ourselves, what is the civil society doing in the country right now? We've been asking ourselves that question. Where is the civil society? What are they up to? We'll be speaking to one of them this morning. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your 87.9 Spice FM, Mombasa. Spice up your life.
All right, coming to the top of the hour, as we conclude the conversation, let's bring in Yegon. Yegon, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Eric Latiff.
How are you, man?
I am fine. I'm CD Muga and Nduh Okoh.
We are very well, thank you, Yegon. Nice to hear from you.
Yes.
Wapi wewe leo?
I'm calling from Nandi.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, your comment on this matter?
Yes, my comment in this matter is that the state should stop. They should stop suppressing William Ruto.
Mm-hmm.
The government should provide a free democracy, a free campaign mode in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Because already the country is in the campaign mood. We cannot see everyone is campaigning. We have seen Raila going to Coast. We have seen Musalia Mudavadi going to Central. There is no chaos.
Yep.
But when it comes to William Ruto attending this outside Rift Valley, we have seen chaos being planned.
Mm-hmm.
Now we don't know who is driving in this chaos.
Mm-hmm.
The answer is probably the government. The government wants to paint a picture on the DB Ruto scam so that they can be stopped from contesting come 2022. We saw the clip from that lady from Muranga speaking that we have been coached by Sabina Cheke. We have been given 1,000 shillings. Then when it comes to being summoned, you see the Tanga winning Ndinyi Nyoro being summoned. How can Ndinyi Nyoro plan chaos? Even up to the OCBD knew why. Kama tiakas inatupwa kwa kanisa. Who has ever seen that?
All right,
you can hear from Mungai, a person who was on the ground. The image is visible that this is the government just doing a witch hunt to another political side.
All right. But we must also now point out here and give right reply to Sabina, who has also actually said that no, she was not involved in this. She says that she was not involved in this particular issue. But Yegon, thank you very much for your call this morning.
Thank you, Rick.
Asante, it's now 8 o'clock.
Spice up your life. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Okay, so Outer Ring has some issues today, and if we're going to look on to Thika Road, Muthaiga service lane, very, very slow at this point, moving very slowly, and it looks like it's going to take some time. All right, let's look at Magadi Road, all the way from Ongata Rongai to the Galleria Mall, and then out onto Langata Road today. Very, very slow, bumper-to-bumper situation. And so then you get to the T-Mall roundabout, and it's even slower. But then there's the option of going towards Bagathi Way or then going towards Nyayo Stadium. Nyayo Stadium, however, is bumper to bumper as well as you try to get onto Huru Highway. So that's what that looks like there. Mombasa Road still continues to struggle with the early morning Tuesday traffic. Also bumper to bumper situation in some parts, and then it opens up as you get closer and closer to the stadium. So that's where we have the clog ups this morning. If you're stuck somewhere that we don't know about, let us know 40127 or tweet us, Spice FM KE.
Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Nduh Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur.
Spice FM broadcasting from Nairobi on 94.4 to Malindi and Kilifi County 97.7, Njeri and its environs 90.9, Eldoret and the region 96.7, Nakuru and the areas surrounding it all the way up to Bomet and Sotik and Kisii 96.0, 102.5 in Kisumu and the surrounding areas, and Mombasa even crossing over into parts of Kwale County 87.9. We are also live on KTN Home and also live on www.spicefm.co.ke and Spice FM KE on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. As we begin the hour, let's begin it the way we always do. C.T. Muga, today's monkey business.
Well, a monkey that eats grass instead of a banana is a goat.
A monkey that eats grass instead of a banana is a goat. Are you insulting the goat or the monkey?
It isn't an insult. It's just a biological definition.
Reality of you are what you eat.
Why did you choose goat? Why not sheep?
Well, why didn't you ask? Why didn't I choose giraffe? Why didn't I choose...
well, physiologically, a monkey wouldn't look like a giraffe, really.
And does it look more like a goat?
If it starts eating grass. Maybe. Let's switch the conversation now. Talk about civil society. We've had this conversation many times, and many times we even have guests on the show, and we talk about the journey to realizing the new constitution of Kenya 2010, the agitation for the second liberation. Just this year, we're celebrating 30 years of Sabasaba, the Sabasaba rallies, and what was happening 30 years ago. We're looking at, what the vibrancy of the civil society of the bygone era, and then comparing to what we see now from the civil society. There are those that have said that civil society has become muted because some of those leaders who were in the civil society then now went and joined government. They joined government in various capacities. They are either advisors to the government, or they are, serving in the government as cabinet ministers, or they have become Chief Justice of the Republic, or, all other cadres of joining in government. And then wondering now the younger ones who are coming out into the civil society movement now, are they as strong? Are they as active? Are they as focused and resolute as the ones that were there before? Is it because of the change of times? Maybe that we are not seeing what they're doing, but they are still doing as much. When you ask those questions, many times you're told, you can look at it from very many angles. Those in the civil society say, no, we are still agitating. We still bring out the conversations. We still, if you look at all the cases that keep going to court, these are civil society organizations that go to push for implementation of the Constitution. It is civil society organizations that have, persistently pursued the issue of the gender rule in Parliament up to a point where the Chief Justice now had to do what he's required by law to do, and this is right to the President. It is because of the agitation of the civil society. But then questions back and forth. Is it enough what we see from the civil society, do you think?
Or are we expecting too much from the civil society?
Do we know what we're expecting from the civil society?
People do know exactly what they're expecting from the civil society. In fact, if anything, if you take the dictum that if you need to be heard, sometimes you need to make a little noise, the civil society for the longest time have been associated with that particular thinking, that if something is going wrong, you can rely on the civil society to speak out, talk about it. Because remember, when there was political agitation, even before the term civil society became a buzzword and an understanding of all manner of things, many of the people who were part and parcel, I'm talking historically, of course, of political agitation, are the ones who, some of them, veered off and became members of the civil society. I mean, they continued the same agitation, but they were not interested in political posts. They were not. They were not. They didn't show any interest in electoral politics, but they were interested in issues, and they did not stop raising issues that they thought were pertinent. Yes.
A couple of weeks back, when we spoke to John Gidongo, and we were looking at the journey to this new constitution and the push for the full implementation of the constitution, we got to a point where we posed this question to him and asked him, is it about time then we saw civil society coming together, speaking with one voice, just like we saw in the Ufungamano initiative? Civil society coming together, joining religious leaders, joining opposition leaders to say this is the journey that we should take to the realization of a constitution. And he said, there's actually something that's cooking in the background. Then about a week or two ago, we saw these leaders speaking out and saying, we have come together, we have formed the Kongamano la Mageuzi, which is going to push and campaign for change in the country. One of the founder members of this Kongamano la Mageuzi joins us today. He's Mwalimu Mutemi Wakema. He's on the line. He's joining us on video as well. Good morning, Mwalimu Mutemi.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you on the show. Welcome to the Situation Room.
Nashukuru.
Now, Mutemi Wakema, this Kongamano la Mageuzi, just give us a brief. What is this?
Kongamano la Mageuzi is a response to the questions Kenyans have been asking, and that were very well articulated by you and Professor Muga. Where is civil society when Kenya is going down the drain? What are Kenyan civil society players doing? And I think it's always important from the word go to have a define what civil society is. Mostly, the term civil society is used to refer to the institutionalized civil society organizations, NGOs, to be specific. But the word, the definition that we use, or rather the actual definition of civil society, is any space, any organized space that is not government, and it is not family. Okay, so it's not a family group, and it's not a government institution, and even it's not business.
Oh, I was about to say we're civil society.
Yeah.
For media organizations sometimes do associate or organize themselves in a way that they can be referred to as civil society. For example, if you're a member of the Kenya Union of Journalists, or if you're a member of, for example, you have your own, let's say, investment groups within your organization and that kind of thing. So when people come together for their own welfare, that is civil society. So, and then civil society also, the organizations, the NGOs are divided into different sectors. There's the development sector, there's the human rights and social accountability sector, and such. And I think most of the time when the questions that you guys are asking come up, they're actually targeted at the human rights and social accountability, and that the sector that deals with those aspects, the ones that ask questions, and when when we go quiet, then people ask where are civil society organizations, or what the state loves to call evil society. Because of course the state doesn't like being questioned, doesn't like being asked. It would prefer a very complacent population, people who don't ask questions, so they can continue eating the COVID billions. So Kongamano la Mageuzi then is an initiative of some members of the human rights governance sector of civil society, business people, individual activists, and social movements, and other associations that have come together that have seen the country going down the drain in terms of governance. You can see the shenanigans that are all over our airwaves. You can see 2 young people unfortunately died yesterday. Was it yesterday or
Sunday?
Sunday.
Oh, Sunday. I mean, 2 young people died totally unnecessarily. In fact, I saw somewhere that one of them is 15 years old. He's not even old enough to vote. And that kind of the narrative that we have, I don't know, Kieleweke and Tanga and reggae, totally useless, phrases that define our politics, and saying that Kenya deserves better. Kenya has produced better. Kenya, 99% of Kenyans are not part of that circus, that political circus, and asking where are the rest of Kenyans when our country is going down the drain, and taking up the gauntlet Professor Muga has drawn and saying we cannot just sit by and watch as the country goes down the drain. And just to add, let me say that all moments that have transformed this country, usually it's in 10 years or give or take, from independence to around 1969 to around 1982, 1992, 2002, and then 2010. Civil society, in the wider definition that I've given, including the religious organization and all that, every time the country seems to be going down the drain, people come together, organizations come together, and they put aside their sexual interest and put the interest of the nation together, and push. The only difference this time, so they push a movement that then leads to transformation, whether it's the repeal of Section 2A or passing of the Constitution 2010. But the only difference is this. The only difference with Kongamano la Mageuzi is this. Most of the time, civil society, let me use Swahili, hulima shamba, inapanda, inapalilia, mimea inakuwa, alafu tunaita politicians wakuja wavune. This time you're saying no more. You're going for the power itself. We cannot let these thugs be in charge of our country anymore.
And how will that be? How is it going to be? When you say this time it's going to be different and we're not going to allow politicians come in, what exactly is it going to be that we'll be able to see tangibly that, essentially civil society is taking the bull by the horns? What are you going to see that's going to make the difference?
I want to disabuse that just civil society. Civil society is providing leadership and the organizing space, but the planning that has happened in the last 4 months have had people from all over different sectors. Business, people are complaining about, people in business are suffering. People, they can't basically make a profit, they can't pay their employees, they can't pay their overheads. There are a lot of very many angry Kenyans who are saying enough is enough. And what Kongamano la Mageuzi is providing that organizing space. It's not a political party. Kongamano la Mageuzi is not a registered organization. It's actually a space, like an umbrella space, where we can pool our resources. So you're all invited to, with your powerful thinking and strategies, So it's a space where we are saying Kenyans have solutions to our challenges, including politics. We've left politics to the politicians for too long. It's time we come together and think of how to take Kenya in a different direction.
Are politicians allowed to be part of this organization?
Yes, politicians who measure up to certain criteria in terms of values and that can. For example, we released a job application, a job announcement that listed the kind of politicians who are not welcome to apply, including the current president, his deputy, the leader of opposition who was he has given up his job as leader of opposition and joined government, and their associates. Current Nairobi governor, former governor of Kiambu, and such characters, and you're saying we have Kenya. 99% of Kenyans are good people who have a certain moral code, certain values that they follow. We are there for each other. If people are unwell, we support each other. We pay for each other's school fees. If someone is unable to pay rent, we fundraise for them. Those are the kind of Kenyans we are looking for. And there are politicians who feel like because of the dirt, the crookedness in the current politics, they cannot offer themselves. There's this mantra that politics is dirty, and you're saying politics is not always dirty. It's just that only the dirty people have been given the opportunity to participate. And you're saying out of the 47 million Kenyans, we say the bad guys are about 8,300 people. Where are the rest of us? So this is the opportunity to do that for you guys to come out. Not just be critical, but actually do something. And we don't all have to vie, but we can field a candidate from the ward to constituencies to the governors to the national level of people who are extremely qualified, extremely ethical, and ready to serve this country. I'm sure there are many people out there. We can find enough people to fill those seats who won't even ask for a salary.
Well, but
they want to serve Kenya.
But some would argue that that's exactly what happens in every election. That you see people who come out, and there are those that are would of course pass your grading, mwalimu, and then there are those that may not. But all those come out in an election. What I'm hearing you saying, maybe I'm not getting you right, is this time you are coming together to push for political power.
Yes.
For civil society, members of the civil society to come in and, is it going to be a political party, or are you just saying that whatever political vehicle you're going to use, as long as you identify with what we have come together and said this is our code as Kongamano la Mageuzi?
There's that. So part of the membership right now includes political parties. Some of them who are not, let me not mention names because those negotiations are still going on, but these are registered political parties whose ideals and values agree with, generally with what we are pushing for. And then we're also inviting, for example, independent candidates who might be afraid to take on this machine, this behemoth that is in charge of a country. For example, the people who've been looting the country for the last 7 years, accumulated billions and billions that they use to push their agenda.
How is what you're saying now different from what we've heard before from leaders, even those in the civil society? If I look in the early 90s, those political parties that were being formed then, the Forum for the Restoration of Democracy and the rest, it is people who are thinking the same way, people who are agitating in the civil space and then getting into political parties and campaigning. If you look at the formation of Safina Party, for example, same language was used at that point, bringing together Richard Leakey, Paul Muite, Muturi Kigano and the rest to come into this one vehicle that's going to be the one that, after all the rain has come, is going to be the one that delivers this new Kenya to Kenyans. How is Kongamano different from Safina?
That's a very good question. Actually, that's a question we asked ourselves, and the beauty of it is that we have veterans, such as the John Gedongo, who was meant to be on this show this morning but was unable to. And then Dr. William Mutunga. So basically what you're saying is that you're standing on shoulders of giants. And what these two gentlemen and the others who are part of Kongamano are doing is that, there's a saying that what is called standing on the shoulders of giants. We are learning so much from the failures, and they admit that they made many mistakes. You've just alluded to the same with the SDP, the Social Democratic Party. And if you remember, what the SDP did was there was all these civil society players who organized, and then they decided now to get someone who was a politician to be the presidential candidate. So, and then made whatever mistakes they made. So what you're saying is this, from the word go, just even inviting somebody, we have to look at the character of that person and their CV, for example, how they've served within the spaces that they are in. For example, if they're in the corporate world, are they running organizations that are corrupt? If they're in the NGO sector, we also have bad eggs within the NGO sector, what I call the deep society of the NGO sector. People who are. We have to admit that Kenya needs to be fixed, even in the religious sector. I mean, you can see bishops, whole formation, church formation, giving instructions. That the so-called hustler should not be dishing out money within the churches. And there are rogue bishops and rogue priests who allow him into their spaces, to receive those corrupt funds. So we're saying we have seen the mistakes that have been made. We are not saying we are perfect, but we're saying we are learning from that. And part of the invitation to Kenyans out there who are movement builders, who are network coalition builders, is to come on board and help us navigate some of these things. But key
Mr.
also
Kiama,
is that
the efforts are undeniably laudable. However, there are very many people who are right now in the political space who in a previous time were inclined towards the same sort of virtues that you're speaking of. And with the
Very
time,
true.
they changed. So it isn't a good CV, in my opinion. It isn't a good reputation. It is our politics. Because what happens to all these good people when they actually enter the political space? Because you now want to encourage them to enter the political space. What guarantee do we have that they will not just turn out like everybody else who's in the political space?
That's a very powerful question, Prof. And from our analysis of where we have gone wrong in the past, it's what we call the status quo. And I would define the status quo this way. Chama iko na wenyewe. Something like a statement like that. So, for example, if I join ODM, which has been the umbrella of change makers for a long time, you will find their owners. And those owners are usually like, if you look at statistics, is that Kenyans change between 70 to 75% of elected leaders every election cycle, every 5 years. But these who change are the ones you're describing, the ones who come in. And then when they go in there with very noble intentions, wanakuta chama iko na wenyewe. And this is what it means. Could be ODM, could be TNA, could be KANU, could be whatever party. It doesn't matter. It's the same shenanigans. Look at Port Kenya, what's happening. And this is what happens. If you're in parliament, you need to have your say or to have your question heard. It has to be put on the order paper. And to be put on the order paper, whoever the party representative is has to take it to the clerk of the National Assembly. And then the clerk puts on the paper, and then the speaker has to decide whether that question gets asked on the floor of the House. But it also says, the rules of the House also say that you cannot discuss a matter that is in front of Parliament outside the House.
Yep.
So this is how you shut people up. Very good people go into that house. So I have a question. I have to first impress the gatekeeper who is part of my paper, my party. And then that question is put on the order paper. There's another gatekeeper called the clerk of the National Assembly. And there's another gatekeeper called, party whip and all that. And then there
but Mr. Kiama, is this unique to Kenya, really?
So what I'm saying is this. Understanding that this is not unique to Kenya, and that is a system that has been built deliberately to keep matters, Wanjiko matters, off the public sphere, and especially off parliament, so that we don't ask the questions that we need to ask, we don't scrutinize budget the way it's supposed to do. That's why Kongamano la Mageuzi has come to be. We are saying we are now going to take over power and change those things that we know have been happening. And they are not unique to Kenya, yes.
So you want to be the Wenye party now? When they say Chama iko na wenyewe, it becomes the Kongamano, are the Wenye Chama. Let's take a break. Let's take a break, Mwalimu. We want to take a break and then look at traffic and weather and then continue this conversation. We are having a conversation with Mwalimu Mutemi Wakema. He is a founder member of the Kongamano la Mageuzi, civil society organizations, like-minded people coming together and saying, you know what, we need to have a better and stronger role that we're playing in the political discussions in the country. And therefore even encouraging some of their members to then put themselves up for elective positions, which is the conversation that we're having. Then what is the difference and what's going to have? So let's take a break. 27 minutes after 8. We'll be back shortly. This is the Situation Room on Spice FM, on KTN Home and online.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Spice FM. Spice up your life. Chilled Spice.
Outside, it's sunny at 19 degrees in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 27 today and lows of 13. Looking into Njeri, sunny conditions as well, but they won't last for long. It's 18 degrees at the moment. It'll rise to a high of 25 with showers expected later. And in Nakuru, sunny conditions at 17, highs of 24 and lows of 12. It looks like a wet afternoon in that area today. Eldred, it's mostly sunny conditions at 16 degrees. It'll cloud up later with rains expected. Highs of 22 and lows of 12. Kisumu is mostly sunny at 22 degrees. Highs of 29 and lows of 19. And it'll be raining there later on. Looks like the rain is going to make its entrance into Mombasa today. Currently at 27 degrees, it will rise to a high of 29 and lows of 24. Looking into Malindi, it's partly cloudy at 27 degrees with highs of 29 and lows of 25. Kampala, weather today is partly cloudy, going to highs of 26, currently at 20 and a low of 18. And in Dar es Salaam, we are looking at partly cloudy conditions at 24 degrees, highs of 32 and lows of 22. Johannesburg this morning is mostly sunny at 14 degrees, highs of 19 and lows of 12. And finally, for now, in Lagos, we're still looking at wet conditions. The rain continues to pound down at 29, highs of 30 and lows of 24.
Spice FM, Malindi. Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever.
So what does traffic look like today? We're looking at still heightened levels of traffic on Mombasa Road today, but this is expected and nothing crazy or out of the ordinary, and we'll look at that getting better as we go along. All right, coming off of Thika Road also into the CBD, not so bad either. It's behaved very well today, and that should open up very nicely for everybody going into the afternoon. As traffic hour comes to an end, we still see that the Eastern Bypass is completely blocked today. It's not moving. We still don't know the cause of this, but likely we'll get an answer to that, and hopefully that it opens up soon enough. Okay, so it doesn't look too bad this Tuesday morning. Spice FM KE, that's how you can get to us on Twitter or text us on 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. 94.4 Spice FM,
All right, the
Nairobi.
conversation continues. 8:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. In the room is Eric Latiff, Nduh Okoh, CT Muga. Joining us on the line this morning is Mwalimu Mutemi Wakema. He is a founder member of the Kongamano la Mageuzi. And the question we're asking is, where is the civil society now? What next for the civil society in demanding better governance for the country? And yes, Mutemi, you're saying that it's about time that now you're bringing in together people of like mind and going there and occupying that space in Parliament where you are also able to determine how questions are then asked on the floor of the House, how the parliamentary business is conducted, such that you do not then stifle the voice of those who you're saying whose voices have been stifled when they go into Parliament. Why don't we hear them complaining about these outside Parliament? Even before they've asked a question, we don't hear any of those people that the CT was saying, people who are very active before they got into Parliament, before they got elected. They were very active in agitating for change. When they go to Parliament, we don't hear them saying, you know what, I got in there and I realized that this system is rigged to ensure that I don't get my voice heard. Why don't we hear them saying that? Why is it that it's people like Mutemi Wakema who are saying this?
And just to clarify again, it's not just civil society. Kongamano la Mageuzi has members of the civil society, people from business, people from other sectors, religious community, and individual politicians and activists who wish to see a different Kenya. I'd mentioned that part of the rules within Parliament is that once the business is before the House, you cannot discuss it outside the House. So there are serious sanctions if you try to raise business. So the trick is to put it on the floor of the House and then not get it transacted, if we can put it that way. But then also the norms. We've heard of people being paid, given some cash to support certain positions in the toilets and such unholy places. And it's generally the culture of this system. And as we've said, it's not just in Kenya. It's the capitalist man-eat-man society that has pushed this kind of thing. And what we are saying is that Kongamano la Mageuzi is about building a different system, a system that cares about people and cares about the country and cares about the future of our kids. For example, if we look at what has just happened, the president has jumped into a jet and gone to France and signed a bill worth, some loan worth 190-something billion, without consulting anyone, and that loan is going to put Kenyans and Kenyans' kids, my kids, their kids, in trouble for the next 100 years or something. Excuse me. And Parliament is just complacent. No one is doing anything. No one is asking any questions. People are just smiling because they get their checks, and life goes on. And we're saying that is not how it's supposed to be, and we can't let it.
Mr. Kema, how would you have wanted the president to ask to involve us in this discussion?
There are many ways. For example, were there policy papers that were developed to justify this? Were they subjected to public participation? As the Constitution requires. Did the ministry, or whatever ministry that is involved, we don't even know. Which ministers did he go with to send this bill? Was it roads and transport? Was it infrastructure? Was it Ministry of Finance? Where is the policy paper, cabinet paper that developed this position, and where was it debated? Where was it discussed? When it was passed?
Can I then ask the question, does Parliament also needs to involve the public when they raise our debt ceiling?
Of course. That's a no-brainer. Of course they should be asked. They are the people we send them there to represent us. We send them to represent us, not themselves, and not the interest of the Kenyatta family.
Okay. Now we've begun a new conversation. Mr. Kiama, when we talk about politics, you mentioned groups of people who are excluded from the people who you would consider as being members. Now, all the people you mentioned, in my mind, are people who actually are powerful in this country for one simple reason: they have followers. So when you want to start a movement, you want to start an organization that is presenting itself as heralding a new, better and bright future, it means you're also trying to convince people who already are aligned to these individuals that there's something better on the horizon. That's assuming that they might leave the associations they currently have for something better. What is it that assures you that where they are is not a place they already consider is better than whatever else you may be offering?
It's because I'm a Kenyan, first of all, because I know I've been in spaces. For example, in 2017, I did support NASA because based on the argument that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And yes, we are trying to win over people who align themselves with these existing formations. And why? Because we know that at some point, I personally have aligned myself with such because there's no alternative. And so what we've done is decided to take up that challenge of actually building a credible alternative. And this effort, these conversations began after the nullification of the 2017 presidential election. And you were seeing how the Uhuru Kenyatta on one side and Ruto on the Raila on the other side had painted themselves into corners that they could not climb down. And you're saying, is there an alternative voice in Kenya? Can Kenyans have different positions on some of these issues? And even within Jubilee and within NASA, are there moderates? Are there people who are there because, for example, they are lumped tribally because Kenyan politics have been organized, before Kongamano have always been organized tribally. And people are saying, because I'm Kikuyu, then I must be Jubilee. I've had fights in my family group or subgroups that I created, and then I was kicked out for not supporting Uhuru Kenyatta in 2013. And then that time I was not supporting Raila Odinga. I supported Mother Karua, and then I voted for Mother Karua in 2013. But in 2017 I was with Raila. That made it even worse because the prevailing narrative on all, Kikuyu FM stations and all that is that anybody who does not support Uhuru is betraying the tribe. But not only that, it's even worse if you support Raila. Do not support Uhuru, but don't support anyone else. But if you support Raila, then you're an enemy of the so-called Mogoroki or the madman. So that's the fact that we are saying that a lot of Kenyans, for example, are not really beholden to these existing formations. It's like they find themselves in that space because there's no alternative. And you're seeing it today in the battles that are happening right now because there's a fight that is happening whereby the president is fighting his deputy. And he's using all manner of shenanigans that are unconstitutional. And some people, including people in the civil society, are tempted to align themselves with the deputy president because there's no other formation that is standing to the unconstitutional ways of the president. And you're saying it should not be a choice of the lesser evil. What about the people who are not evil? The 99% of Kenyans come together against this very small, it's not even 1%, it's a very tiny cabal that has been destroying our country and taking us down the drain.
Okay, you talk about 99%. You talk about 99% of Kenyans who are, who are tired of this, who want a different kind of rule, want, adherence to the rule of law and such. It's an uphill task. It's a lot of work to get people on the same page where this is concerned. I mean, and in terms of readiness, in terms of grit and tenacity, how far do you think you can push this? I mean, you have people who in Kenya maybe have suffered from Stockholm syndrome from the longest time, right? Looking for change but really don't know how to go about it. And also looking at a group of people who are okay with the status quo. I mean, that you have to take into consideration as well. So, I mean, how ready and are you to really look at this and say, this is something that we can overcome? Or along the way, will there be some kind of tiredness or exhaustion that overpowers your
You
will
sound
for
so
change?
tired. You sound so tired. You look so tired.
You sound
and so are many other Kenyans. We are tired. We are exhausted. I mean, I call it arrested development. There used to be a music group when I was growing up, but it's basically the potential of Kenya. The fact that you are running, when Uganda went down, Kenyans went to help build Uganda, although Ugandans were here during the war. In Namibia, Botswana, South Africa, all over. We are running countries and we are running governments that work. Rwanda, because we have the capacity. We have Kenyans in the diaspora elsewhere, like in the Europe, in the US, in the UK, in Finland, in France. We have Kenyans in the UAE. You have Kenyans in all over Japan, Australia, running institutions properly because they can't do the same back home. They don't have the opportunity to do. We have these thugs who have this cabal that has captured state institutions and the corporate sector also, because it's a revolving door, and they control who comes in there. But what is interesting right now is that even the corporate sector now is complaining after making billions off Wanjiko for so long. Now they've seen that all these resources are being directed. If the company is not associated with the Kenyatta family, you don't get the government tenders. So yes, we are tired, and that tiredness is what we want to use.
Mr. Mutemi, some of those statements
you don't want to roll over and die.
Some of those statements you make would require verification. But again, you are entitled to your view. Now, this sort of thinking that this organization that you has is not dissimilar to the thinking of people who formed the Green movement, let's say in Europe, the Green Party, for instance. Almost identical values. Now, the first ever MP to be elected on a Green Party ticket was actually in Switzerland, and that was in 1979, after the party had been set up in 1972. Now, it took time for these Green parties all over Europe to get a foothold to the point where they became big players in determining the future of their country. Now, I am saying this. It is a noble cause, but it is a marathon, a rather long one, not 42 kilometers. And the reason I say this is because you are going to be asking people to change from norms and parties and associations that they are accustomed to something absolutely new that they do not know of. And to associate with people they actually don't know of, but they may read about. It takes time. But my question, is your aim to end corruption or to reduce it significantly?
Thank you, Dr. Muga, Professor Muga.
Mr. Kiama, this one, I really thank you. You've elevated my status enormously. I am actually not a in the Professor Don sense of the word. I am a mwalimu like you. I am a teacher. Yes, but carry on, please.
Asante sana mwalimu mwenzangu.
Yes.
Thank you. So it's very good caution that it takes time to build good institutions and credible institutions. So part of what actually, as I said earlier, we bring on the table is the experience of people who have been there before, who have seen the mistakes that have been made. We, as I said earlier, we are not just building a party or a coalition. It's actually, we are working, the long-term view is to build a system, a different system from what we have right now. That is what the Constitution of Kenya 2010 was meant to give us. So already that journey has begun. The values that we espouse are actually the values in the Constitution. One of the calls for kongamano la mageuzi is implement the Constitution. Don't say you want to amend it and you've not tried even to implement it. Tekeleza katiba, So that journey, we are already 10 years into that journey. So kongamano la mageuzi is actually a product of the Constitution. The lack of implementation of the Constitution, the attempts to claw back devolution that is being done, decentralized basically, that is being done by the Kenyatta presidency. And yes, we have short-term goals, that's 2022. We have mid-term goals where we want to see Kongamano, not just in 2022, but beyond that. And we have long-term goals, whereby we change the system and also become the beacon for the rest of Africa in terms of whether it is possible to finally uproot the colonial extractive system that is in power. That is just basically what we have in power in Wazungu. The colonialists just continued even after we got the so-called independence. But, it's still the same. Mambo ni yale, what used to happen during the colonial period.
Yeah. But you realize, and I'm sure you'll acknowledge the fact that when we talk about civil society and civil society espousing some values, then at some point people will have doubts because of what they have witnessed. We have witnessed people who have been very active in the civil society, just like we've talked about before, getting into government, and then you start questioning what exactly they stood for when they were in the civil society vis-a-vis what they're doing when they're in government or in positions of leadership. We also have witnessed people who are currently in the civil society who some people would question, is this person really living up to the higher ideal that they speak of? Now, what is it that you would do as Kongamano la Mageuzi, looking at all the people who will stand up under the banner of the Kongamano la Mageuzi and say that I am a member of Kongamano la Mageuzi, to convince people that this time you're different. You're different from what we've seen before. You're different from what we are seeing playing out in the political field.
I'll use, again, an example I've mentioned earlier when I supported a different candidate and I was kicked out of my family subgroups. And what I was saying is this. I was saying to my aunties, my uncles, my cousins, and my brothers and sisters is this. I was saying, I have no issue with you supporting Jubilee as long as you hold the leadership of Jubilee to account. So if you've been promised 9 world-class stadiums, please ensure that they deliver those 9 world-class stadiums. We've ensured healthcare, education, laptops, and all these promises that were made. Please play your role as a citizen, because the Constitution gives us, rights, freedoms, but we don't like talking about the responsibilities as active citizens that you're supposed to take, and that includes the media. And I'm very happy with this program because it speaks truth to power. Most of our media does not speak truth to power. And so how will we ensure that we don't go the same way others have done? I think the fact that you come from part of the membership of Kongamano la Mageuzi is civil society people who come from the governance sector and have a record of holding people to account, including previous regimes. It's internal. Internally we are holding. We've taken about. I mentioned that this conversation has happened over the last since 2017, but it has taken a lot of consultations. People have fallen off. People who are not accountable to us. We are not accountable to each other. So part of it is the internal accountability mechanisms and norms that are established to ensure that we fulfill our promise. And we are not angels. You're not angels. And that's the recognition that you're not angels is why we have put in mechanisms to hold each other to account.
Are those open to the public? Like, can anybody know what exactly it is that Kongamano la Mageuzi uses as a yardstick for ensuring that people live in those higher ideals?
Actually, they are. If you, I'll share, Eric, I'll share with you, after this, I'll share with you the documents that we've shared out publicly, but they're actually captured. We've deliberately made sure that those values, those norms are public captured in those documents. So that we're very clear from the word go. That's why even in the advert we are saying characters such as this and this are not welcome because we know what they represent and we don't want that in our space.
I'm curious about citizen participation and holding leaders accountable. I see this and how it has played out previously. How would you expect that citizens then would hold? Let's leapfrog a little bit and say now, you're in those positions. How would you expect that citizens of this country hold you accountable in a position of leadership?
So, of course, I don't want to forestall because we are still in a consultative space. So
okay, let's take it out of there and say, okay, let's come back to today. How do you expect?
I have a response
Yeah.
to that. I just want to say that this is likely to be refined further because we want people to come in and give us ideas, even yourself. You're welcome. But I'll give an example of someone who was vying for governor of Kirinyaga told us in a closed space as he was expressing the kind of government he would want to run. And he was saying the constitution does not create an opposition within the space of county governments. So once you're elected governor and the county assembly goes in, there's no opposition. There's no one to hold you to account. So he intended to go and create a fund, which was, have the county assembly pass a law that creates a fund, and this fund is used to support local CBOs and NGOs within that county to hold the county government to account, because they saw that gap. So this could be the kind of thing that you do, whereby I don't know why we are getting a lot of us. Part of what you've said as Kongamano la Mageuzi is that we are funding. We are fully, as much as we have members who are civil society right now with organizations that are funded by outside donors. Kongamano la Mageuzi, those members you see there, the former CJ or John Gedongo, are actually giving out our own cash. I give 1,000 shillings, I give 500 shillings, and we intend to get to a point where Wanjiko actually starts funding this, so that Wanjiko then owns us and holds us to account. We want to change the paradigm from where politicians come and give you 200 bob and tell you to vote for them and then go away for 5 years to replenish that 200 bob. So it's building such systems. You're saying you're building a new system. So as I was saying, it is not fully refined, but you're welcoming Kenyans to give proposals.
Thank you very much, Mutemi Wakama, for speaking to us. As we conclude the conversation, so what next is it that Kongamano la Mageuzi now is going to do? What's the next activity in your plan of activities going forward?
So we are putting in place structures. We are admitting there's a lot of interest that Kenyans have shown. So the next step, what we want to do is actually have a Kongamano, which is a congress. We intend to have it early December, whereby we bring in Kenyans from across the breadth of Kenyans to come and actually put their proposals on the table on how they want us to move forward. We don't assume that we are the sages. We don't have a monopoly of knowledge. As I said earlier, Kenyans have solutions, so it's to create that space. So the Kongamano, we expect to hold it early December, possibly on 12th of December, and we'll bring in Kenyans from all over the country to come and have a discussion about the Kenyan they want, where you're going to take this country forward.
Asante sana. We wish you all the best going forward, and we'll wait to hear then what the kind of activities that Kongamano la Mageuzi will be holding. And once you start gaining traction with the public as well, let's hope that if indeed you get to achieve the positions that you'd like to achieve, there's going to be change. What we want is generally we want a better Kenya for all of us.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Mwalimu Muga and your colleague, Santeni Sana, for having us and giving us this platform to invite Kenyans to join in Kongamano la Mageuzi.
Thank you very much for your valiant effort. Thank you.
Asante.
This is the Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. Time for us to say goodbye to our audience on KTN Home. Join us again tomorrow, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. But this conversation happens every weekday morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Spice FM. So we'll continue the conversations. Now it's 5 minutes to 9. Keep it right here.
Spice FM. Njeri. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
The civil society coming together like this and saying, you know what, it's about time then we became part of the solution. On the one hand, it's actually a very good thing that, you know, citizens come together. They say, let's be part of the solution. Let's not just keep complaining all the time. Let's not keep demanding action when we see that there is no movement. That every time we speak, what we receive as feedback is just, you know, a slap on the face. So let's go in there and be part of the solution. Good thing. The question is whether we really can trust anybody, you know,
Until you see.
civil society or not. Everybody who comes during a political campaign is representing an alternative. And you elect them because you think that they are a viable alternative until they go in and you realize that what they offered as an alternative is not really a tangible alternative.
Or what you want, or even promises that would have been previously made then cannot be kept for whatever reason, however it is that you want to look at it. And I think that, you know, countries don't need a kind of like a messiah platform at this point. What you really need is to be able to chip at this block bit by bit. And I would even say go with one thing, you know? Go with one thing and say, if this is what we are hoping to achieve, as opposed to, because the full sum of the problems politically and in terms of leadership, governance in this country are many. It's huge. So, and to have one group to come in and solve all of that at the same time is no mean feat. It's not something that you can then come and promise at once.
So
Full
go with
sweep
one.
to Kenya. Yeah, I would say start with one. Start with one thing and then see how we can go moving forward. As opposed to say, everybody come in, let's see what we can do. Let's join together and see how we can change this.
We're going to.
It's great. I mean, it sounds
You
great.
raise the expectations of the people, and then those expectations are not actually tangible.
And then
There are
you
just
dash
too many
them.
things.
Yes, there's so many things. Where do you start from? How are you going to keep accountable? I mean, the individuals, how are you really going to do it? It would be great. It's great to have these ideas. But then knowing how they are really going to unfold and what you're really going to do, that's a whole other kettle of fish. And it sounds great, but the reality and the practice and how it sounds are two totally different things. Taking even into consideration the mentality of Kenyans that has been compounded over the years. Starting to break that down and unfold that is one whole exercise on its own. Take that as one of the things that you would do.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
But I'm happy. I am actually happy that an action such as the one of the formulation of this organization has taken place. It tells me, it informs me that Kenyans haven't given up. They haven't sat back and said, you know,
We're done.
We're done.
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
There's that spirit that we keep talking about, the Ufungamano spirit.
the regenerative spirit.
That one,
really,
yes. Sometimes you see, this is now the interesting perspective. It's like you require things to get really terribly bad for people to realize, you know something?
We can do something about it.
Yeah, and we can't keep going this way.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Even looking at the comments coming in, Juma says, ask Kema, how can a young person with all these attributes but no financial muscle join and run in the positions offered by Kongamano la Mageuzi? So see, it's already getting traction. People just want to know, how can I participate even if I don't have the muscle? Well, good morning. It's now 9 o'clock.
spice up your life. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, getting to the end of traffic hour this morning. Looking much better on Thika Road and Mombasa Road, still clogging up every now and again. Where are you stuck? Let us know. But I think it's a good day, no? Traffic is not too bad unless you're on the Eastern Bypass, sorry. And if you are on Magadi Road coming out of Ongata Rangai, sorry times 2. That's what we would say. Let us know if you're stuck somewhere. Spice FMKE, that's how you can reach us on Twitter, or text us 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Nduh Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
2 minutes after 9. Well, the conversation continues right here on Spice FM 94.4 in Nairobi and the rest of the country. We have our frequencies. Also, www.spicefm.co.ke. So, just like we were going to the break, you see, Juma Musioma is asking how he believes if a young person has all these attributes that Kongamano la Mageuzi is espousing, then how can they participate? How can they join? How can they be supported? And this is where probably Mutapa was even saying this becomes a Kenyan movement. So you find a political movement that is being financed by Kenyans. We saw that. We saw a bit of that. Well, all political parties, every time we see there's a bit of fundraising by Kenyans and even the candidates pay something. But a campaign like the one run by Boniface Mwangi in 2017, where he said, guys, I want to vie. I would like to get your support so that I can, run our campaign, contribute to this. And people contributed.
They did.
Yeah, they did.
This thing called democracy is actually very interesting when you consider it. If you look at the various facets, one, Dr. Okoh, I think ran on a similar ticket. And the same values that are being spoken of are the same values that he began with. And they seem to be doing very well. They even had an accountant of the BBI. Then the usual internal issues that arise within parties began to rear their head, and they seem to have taken center stage. So all those issues that they were bringing up in the values somehow have been snuffed out.
Yeah.
There's someone who actually sent me, social media is a good thing. This is what they were saying, that entering politics is, going into politics is like entering a dark room to meet your girlfriend, only to meet her boyfriend. To survive, you can't show love and affection, you must fight.
In that dark room.
Yes.
Wow.
The things
Why are you fighting? Why not just walk back out?
The things Kenyans think.
Oh, you're not the one?
Oh, sorry, wrong
sorry.
room.
Just,
In fact,
just
wrong
tell her I
Yeah.
came.
Just
Tell her I was
looking
here.
for her. You don't even have to ask who you were in the room. Oh, it's clearly not you that I'm looking for. Why even strike up a conversation? Thanks.
Why are you fighting? So you fight.
I mean, think about it. What were those young people fighting about?
They don't know.
Yes, they were paid to cause, as we're told. Yes, exactly. Now, if you think carefully about the activities that we saw there, okay, and should we shed a light on other similar activities that are happening in the country over time, you can then understand why it is people like Mwalimu, Kiama are thinking the way they're thinking. Because you really want to put a halt to all this.
Yeah.
That can't be the way that a nation moves forward.
Yeah.
It's not possible. It can't be.
You know what I was saying, that we've seen this kind of movements before, right? Just like Mutemi was saying, you have people, campaigns like the SDP campaign of 1997, Masani and Gilu. I admired that campaign. Very well run campaign. Professor Nyang Nyongo, Tony Gashoka and the rest, and Charity Ngilu as a presidential candidate.
Apollo Njonjo.
And Apollo. Many people who were in the civil society coming together. Even before that, we also had the Safina movement.
Yes.
Bringing together people of like mind and coming and saying, you know what, in fact, what we are going to do is, so that our voice is not then mud and, mixed up with all this, we are not going to field a presidential candidate. We are going to be fielding members of parliament. And Paul Mwito went into parliament and that's a Safina ticket.
He did.
And several other MPs also.
Yes.
We have been there. We've been there where people come together and they say, you know what, let's speak a different language from what the main political protagonists are saying. Let's come up and speak a different language. It gains traction a bit during the campaigns. After the campaigns, it sort of just
loses steam. And then we have to start again a couple of years later. How can we sustain that steam? How can it gain proper traction?
It isn't as though it loses steam on its own. No. It is when assisted to lose steam. Any smart political operator will understand that sometimes you don't need to keep having an enemy, an obvious enemy. Bring them into the fold.
Just incorporate them.
Just incorporate them in one way or the other. Or let them stay wherever they are staying, but ensure that you're part and parcel of the narrative. It's just that for purposes of the optics, they appear to be in the opposition, but they are very much part and parcel of your team. This is the narrative that has taken center stage when it comes to politics in Kenya, even with political, with the individuals vying for the office of the president.
Yeah.
It has been said on many occasions without proof that there are people who are actually sponsored by those in power to ensure that, one, given that our politics is regional, you actually take votes that might otherwise have contributed to that general pot and it becomes regional. Now, that on its own cannot win you any presidential seat. But you have 2 or 3 people like that, you divide those spoils nicely. So someone who is able to get a bit from each of those communities can easily end up becoming president without necessarily getting the majority. The majority will have been dissipated to the many people who have actually offered themselves for that particular seat. But again, that is just politics. Now, this was a question I was raising. Knowing politics for what it is, what makes our friends think that they will not be infiltrated?
Influenced?
Yes. What makes them think that put it simply, they will not be interfered with?
Yeah.
They will not. The party will remain what it is and it will even do whatever it's claiming to do. But what makes them think that beyond starting and moving forward, that they will have this team to continue?
What conviction is there that the resolve is so strong that regardless of what comes along over time, that it will not deflate, this resolve? Because if you look at anybody who brought along any kind of reform agenda, it doesn't matter where you're looking. It doesn't matter if you're looking in Kenya, any other country in the world, on the continent. Anybody who had any kind of reform agenda, wanted to bring about any kind of change, is that they were able to resist any kind of deflation in their bubble.
They were.
Consistently.
They were.
So anything that came along, it was like, all right, this
Because
is nice that you've done this. Because
Yes.
of the initial resolve
Yes.
and the conviction, which was so strong that they had already purposed in their mind that we know, we are aware or cognizant of the fact that people might come to attack us or embrace us. We are aware that there are some people who want to come and poke a needle in our idea.
In our haystack?
Well, there you go, okay. We know that there are some people who want to come along and either deflate this thing or pretend to support it so that it eventually fall apart. So knowing that all of those things will come along, still resolve to stay strong. Those are the ones who now were able to bring any kind of lasting change, because eventually people then came along with them and joined in the bubbling of this. Now, without taking those things into consideration, everybody else who had a reform agenda came about with the same idea and said, we want to do this, we want to bring in people, we want to make sure that everybody comes along and we do this together. But only those with the resolve were able to get to the point where you see, and history has told you that now they were able to make any kind of change.
You are actually very right, because I as you were speaking, I was thinking of Kenya, and I was looking at even our neighbors. One of the things that you will find is actually true of very many of our, African countries, is that the opposition is actually known. The leaders or leader is known. But the problem with it is it's usually considered a permanent position. Yes.
Permanency in the opposition.
Yes, you're in the opposition, so it's like, why are you moving? If you move from there, how exactly are we going to have someone?
How are we going to deal?
Yes, exactly. And this is your job. You stay there, please. Okay? Now, if you look at any understanding of opposition politics in on this continent and in our country, it points to an understanding by the public that any government actually needs to have a dissenting voice. That's what it tells you. Because even the so-called opposition also has a following. Every once in a while, you find the opposition actually winning that presidency. And then lo and behold, what do you think happens? They behave, if not the same, as the people, they behave well.
They just take over. It's just a musical chair.
Yeah. So it's a dismal picture that is painted. Very, very dismal picture that is painted.
How can people like Mutemi and the rest maintain and sustain this momentum? And look back, I'm looking at it individually. If you look back, there are people who have consistently said and done the same thing, and even when it appeared like they don't have support, they still presented themselves. They still said, you know what, I stand for this, and I'd still like to, even though I can clearly see that I'm not going to be elected as the president, I'm still going to be on the ballot, because I'd like this conversation to still take place. I'd like this conversation to still feature somewhere in these whole political campaigns. We've seen them. Even people like Paul Muite, he has been a candidate all the way up to 2013. He was still a presidential candidate. Paul Muite clearly knew that the chances of him winning that election were nil. So why was he vying?
Relevance, my man.
And also to maintain a message. That there is this message, there is what we have stood for. When we were in Ford, when we were in Safina, and all this time, there's something that we stood for.
And we are not letting go of that idea.
We're not letting go of that idea. And I wish you would listen to me and find a way of just sustaining this conversation. The other day, a couple of months ago, I spoke to Paul Muite. I was inviting him to the show, and he said, you know what, Eric, I'd like others to have to speak now. I have spoken my bit. I've done my bit. I'm still available to have conversations, but I'd like others to speak now. I have said it. I've not said enough. I have said it. But how about others now? We give others the space to speak. But you see, others who take up the space to speak will also be referring to what he has said before and what he's saying now.
He does have an extremely valid point, and it's not a point that can be understated, irrespective of, or should you say overstated, no matter how many times you say it. Because one, that consistency is what brings, or the lack of it, is what brings the disillusionment and the apathy that you see amongst us Kenyans. Because even where we've had hope, and the hope has been in the individuals and the institutions, somewhere along the line we will feel we were let down yet again. Because you start the journey, and the journey, as far as you're concerned, should end in a certain place. But let's be fair and let's be balanced. All is actually not lost, because we actually did get a new constitution.
We did.
We actually did get devolved governments. But then, is it to say that what was entrenched in our psyche, what was entrenched in our minds, is a certain way of doing things, that all we then learned to do was give lip service to what you know is right, but then proceed to do exactly the complete opposite? But that's what we seem to do.
There's also a definition of victory. That victory is when you take over power, when you go to State House. That is what we consider victory. That anything else is not victory. And just like you've said, CT, if the people, the leaders of the civil society movement, even then, would just say, look, we moved from this position. We moved to multi-party democracy. We moved to proper structures of governance. We moved to a new constitution. We have constitutional commissions. We have state institutions that are supposed to be helping the country move forward. Those are victories. Those are very many
They're
victories.
huge victories.
Now, can the civil society movement claim that victory? I think the issue is that they don't. They don't claim the victory.
And yet they should.
They don't claim the victory, and that's why we're like, so where are they?
So what have they been? Then it's
What-
so
what
what
do
have
they
they
achieve?
been doing?
And actually
because
they have-
anybody else who comes in the future, you ask yourself, okay, so how is this any different from what anybody has said in the past? Claiming the victory actually is a huge step into moving forward,
You know, Mr.
into
Kiama
doing
mentioned-
something extra.
Mr. Kiama mentioned and repeated it several times the opportunity they had for learning. Remember, many people who were in the civil society ended up in politics. You know why? They were electable.
Yep.
People liked what they were saying. People liked what they stood for.
People liked them.
Yes, people liked them. They were doing something which at a certain point in time was unthinkable. To actually speak out against the government. And they did. So they got elected. Just when you thought that you were beginning a journey to what you had always looked forward to, the truth is it didn't happen when you wanted, but it did happen. The moment you got the new constitution, something very fundamental changed. Extremely fundamental. It may not seem like it, but it did. It's just like with the issue of Section 2A. All these issues, including the constitution, the newness of it, and what it entails, would never have happened without that Section 2A movement. So certain things happen, you can't actually foretell what it's going to, what the outcome, the eventual outcome will be, or what it look like. But just starting it is usually, in my opinion, the good thing, not the good thing. Because starting it means there's mobility. If it isn't started, we're stagnant. And it isn't just this one conversation. Other conversations that lead to the same thing. Remember, Okoh Mtata keeps being mentioned, and he should be mentioned because he has represented a certain perspective that wrong is not going to go unchallenged in this country. It will not. And it has consistently been so. So it has forced conversations that ordinarily would have been swept under the rug and would have been easily forgotten. That hasn't happened because that conversation remains alive. It's a court case. It remains there. We hear of it. And what is of interest, and again, Eric, the issue of claiming victory. Even when they've gone against the government, they have won many battles.
Yep.
They have won. But they don't claim those victories loud enough for people to know that we've won this battle, meaning these battles can be won.
It's possible. 18 minutes after 9, let's take a break. Look at what's happening outside. It's sunny, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It's a sunny day today. In Nairobi, at least. What's happening in other parts of the country, in other parts of the world? Let's find out soon.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgia.
Conditions in Nairobi will go to highs of 27 and lows of 13 today. In Njeri, 21 degrees as well. Sunny conditions. It'll change to rain showers later. Highs of 25 and lows of 13. Nakuru is sunny at 19 degrees. Highs of 24 and lows of 12. Eldoret is mostly sunny at 18 degrees. 22 degrees the high and lows of 12 with thunderstorms in the forecast for later. It's 23 degrees and sunny in Kisumu. We'll see highs of 28 and lows of 19 and a chance of rains later in the afternoon. It's also 21 degrees in Kakamega and sunny conditions. It'll change later though. Highs of 26 and cloudy conditions and rain later on. Mombasa is partly cloudy at 28 degrees, going to highs of 29 and lows of 24. Take a look into Malindi where it's partly cloudy at 28 degrees. Sunny conditions later with highs of 29 and lows of 25. Let's take a look out into Kampala where it's partly cloudy at 21 degrees, going to highs of 27 and lows of 18. Dar es Salaam is 27 degrees and mostly sunny It'll go to highs of 31 and lows of 22. Johannesburg is mostly sunny at 15 degrees, highs of 20 and lows of 13 with cloudy conditions expected in the afternoon. The rains continue in Lagos at 30 degrees. That'll be the high today with lows of 24. Getting round to Tuesday evening in Beijing, it's mostly sunny at 21 degrees and the sun is going to be out till about 9 p.m. that time. Highs of 21 and lows of 9. And then looking into London, light rain showers still being experienced, mostly cloudy conditions at 12, going to highs of 16 and lows of 9. The weather in Paris is wet and cloudy this morning at 13 degrees. It'll go to highs of 16 and lows of 11. And let's finish things off in New York, where it's now Tuesday morning, mostly cloudy conditions at 16. The sun is going to come up later, though, with highs of 23 and lows of 16.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
A couple of comments coming in. Who vets the leadership of Kongamano la Mageuzi? I mean, who do they think they are to presume an ability to vet or judge others? There's a high level of hubris here, and this has always been the downfall of civil society. So you come in and you say, you know, this is what we stand for, and this is how we shall vet you. And who decided?
Who gave you
Who gave you that? I think that the message here is, if you'd like to, and in fact we even asked Mwalimu Wakema at that point, are these ideals that you're so advocating available to the public? Is it possible for us to see what is it that you are subjecting yourself through, so that then we can say it's the same yardstick they're using to judge everybody else? That we can then say that, you know what, you have been measured and you've been found to be
wanting
or
equal to the task.
And then now you can also now come and say, you see, everybody else, this is what we stand for, and this is who we'd like our leaders and members to look like.
Eric, you know where the problem arises here? When you present the Kenyan public with words, you know, that's a currency they hear every day. So why should your words be different? Remember, there are people who talk about development projects. There are people who talk about the benefits that the government has brought to the people of Kenya. Talk. Then there are those who talk opposing it and saying nothing of that sort has happened. And then there are those who have their own agenda. We are an entire debating society. Man, we talk. And we talk and we talk and we talk. So when you enter the arena to give us your talk, what makes you think that your talk will not just be told to join the queue?
What are you saying that is so different?
Yes, you'll be told, actually, you know.
We've heard this before.
Thank you very much, but, you know, we've heard this before. Tell us, what do you want to do? We've heard what you want to do. Okay. One of the things that you said you want to do, how have you done it? The one thing to, we get, we understand, even sounds good. What have you done? The what have you done question is the one question that many people do not want to answer. Now, remember.
Show us by deed.
Yes. Now, what politicians now did, okay? These ones which speak louder than words. What you then do is, you find the narrative has taken place where, when the police, as you correctly put it, arrest you, that's a deed. Because it's on behalf of the people. Okay? Should you get beaten in a rally, that's a deed. Mtetezi, on behalf of the people. Yes, it's true. It's always on behalf of the people. Yes. Should your own party throw you out for whatever reason, once again, it is for the people. Anything that appears to put you in a position of discomfort is actually considered to be good currency for leadership.
Around.
Yes. Nobody actually asked the question, okay, so what exactly, done as in, you said you want to do this. Just two things that you have done, just so that we understand that your intentions are true. that becomes difficult. It becomes very, very difficult.
Well, from just the little influence, that your own corner of influence, can you show us something that then really mirrors exactly what you say? That can tell us this is the character of Nduh Okoh or Eric Latiff. This is who Eric Latiff really is, and this is what he stands for. Because we have seen from what little influence he has, this is what he's able to do, and we can therefore see,
and it's got to be able
man
to be
matches words.
It's got to be from the minutest of scenarios in your area, in your neighborhood. Do people know that your voice is one that can be counted on by deed, also by the deeds that you do around what is it that you've done? What kind of change is it that you've brought out? Because they're going to hold you to that particular yardstick. It's not just going to be out of the box. It sounds overly simple, but that's really what it is. Have you run a business successfully? If you want to enter into a position that people are going to now need those particular characteristics to bring out, have you been able to rally people in your neighborhood to stand for a particular cause? Have you been able to point out that these are certain things that are going wrong in that same neighborhood and then bring about some kind of management or oversight to make sure that it doesn't happen again? Because people say, oh, well, maybe he's done it in his neighborhood or she's done it in her neighborhood, but that cannot translate to a national level. Whereas it can. Because if you can do it in the slightest and the simplest of situations, the same principles that you apply there are the same principles that you would apply at a national level. But we don't talk about the things that we've done. It's an idea in the head and we say, okay, yes, we all want to come around and say it's time for us to bring some kind of monumental change. Tell people what it is that you've done. Because the first reaction you're going to get from a people who have been so compounded in their thought process when it comes to somebody who wants to bring out a solution is that we don't know anything different.
You know what, actually,
there's
in
nothing
fact,
you're going to tell us.
If you've done something, don't tell people. Others will tell people. Others will testify of your deeds. And it'll be very clear. Those that have witnessed what you've done, what you've stood for, will speak on your behalf. Just come out and say, you know what, I believe we should take this direction. Somebody else will come and say, when CT says that, we believe him. Because we know what CT does. We know we have experienced CT.
Yep. Deeds here speaking much louder than any words you can utter. You see, the thing about politics is you may even do all those things. You may even have a first term, a second term, then the third term gets tricky. Now, this has nothing to do with your deeds. Human beings like change. Simple. It sounds almost ridiculous, but it's just that they want change.
That's what they're looking for.
Yes, and in looking for change, they may choose somebody else who then will come in and not do anything that is even close to what they expected. But that's a good thing, because if you are truly interested in politics, is that not an opportunity for you to now perhaps seek yet another term?
A term.
Yes. Because people do change their minds. They will look and say, we made a mistake. And perhaps the wise thing would be, when it gets to a third term, perhaps you need to consider, should I at least vie for this post? Because if you look at our political cycles, those who make it for a second term are not many. Those who make it for a third term are even fewer. And when they do, you have to ask, what do these people do? There's something they seem to have gotten right, because there's something they seem to understand. Now, unfortunately, when you are talking about change in this country, you have to ask yourself this simple question. You, the person, do you actually represent change?
Change, yeah.
You.
Maybe some people maybe even actually do represent change, but just like we keep talking about the 25%, the owners of the political space, you get elected once because the people really chose and they voted for you. You get elected twice, and then these guys realize you're not bending a knee. And because they own the space, they are able to then influence the narrative against you in your own backyard. So you go back home and people are like, this person, surely, what? All they do is this and the other. They are against so and so. So we've had enough. It's time for us to move on to something else. Does that also happen?
Yeah, Eric,
because we see people who come in, people from and remember when you had Njeri Thorne here talking about, I championed for this. I got elected in Njeri Town. I went into parliament in Njeri Town. I stood for something. And going back home, I'm realizing even despite doing everything, stuff that I had done, there was a new narrative. And it carried the day.
Yes, and a narrative doesn't just mean that people have a new way of looking at things. No. All they need is to understand that there's a new political wave. And it's represented by a political party that is considered to be the political party of that region. That's it. Everything that you may have done hitherto.
It's a window.
Yes. You may actually go and win the first time. So the first time you are in that political party, you are kicked out through nominations, you come in as an independent, you win. Third time, my friend.
Those who are brave enough will actually tell you, look,
Juicy we gave you because, I mean, you still...
And now, we liked what you did.
But now, you joined the party, but...
And we still like you. But let
somebody else have a go.
9:30. Let's take a look at what's happening on the roads, and then we open up the phone lines 0719-012-600 and 40127 SMSs. We'll check what's the SMSs that are coming in and actually just sample some of the comments that are coming in. Okay, this is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Okay, so there was some problems on Thika Murang'a Highway this morning. It was impassable at some point because some folks decided that they were going to block the road with burning of tires and such. But it seems that situation is under control now. Just to let you know, that is what was ahead if you were stuck somewhere in that general direction. Okay, so going towards the CBD from Kahawa West, there were no matatus, no public service vehicles. Nothing was going on for some reason, and there are long queues of people waiting to board matatus. There's a problem. Okay, so we're going to have to go back to this traffic snarl up on the Thika Murang'a Highway for very many hours this morning because of the burning of things on the road, guys. So if you're headed in that direction, please be careful. That's what's going on at the moment. We're going to take a look at that further and give you more information as we can. Spice FM KE, that's how you can reach us on Twitter or text us 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, so 27 minutes to 10 as the conversation continues. Let's also touch on a conversation that we had promised that we're going to look at in detail. The headline in the Standard this morning, the government wants parents to foot COVID bills in schools. Parents are in for a rude shock when schools reopen. A training manual that's been seen by the Standard shows that both parents and teachers will be roped in to bridge resource gaps. Parents may have to dig deeper into their pockets to support government effort to make schools safer in the wake of the pandemic. Now, we're talking about money to buy masks, hand washing and sanitizing stations, looking at if the government has spent 1.9 billion shillings to purchase desks and chairs for schools, are those going to be enough if we really require that now? If we have those primary school desks that maybe seat 4 or 5, sometimes 6 pupils, we have to reduce the number of pupils per desk. So we need to do new desks. So where is that going to come from? This is going to come from money that has been contributed in the form of school fees by parents.
I can tell you
development levy.
It's not going to happen.
So what do we say when an effort has been made and it clearly doesn't benefit everyone who needs it?
Nice try.
Yes, because, for instance, the understanding was that the 1.9 billion is supposed to purchase 622,257 desks for public, primary, and secondary schools. But the truth of the matter is that only 5,254 secondary and 5,136 primary schools may benefit from this, as things stand. This is according to the Standard newspaper on page 3, the headline being "Burden of School Resources Put on Parents, Teachers." Please go ahead.
So these desks that were being, I mean, maybe it's a bit late in the game, but these desks that were being, constructed, built, they were going back into the same classrooms with the same capacity, or?
To ease the burden.
Of
Basically, if you look at it, it's playing a dual role here. One is a stimulus to the local Juakali artisans in every county, so they are able then to get back into business. 1.9 billion shillings going into the country. That is some good cash injection into the economy, okay? Secondly, is going into every school is going to get, a couple of desks and chairs. Public schools. Are those enough? Obviously, they are not. So it is coming to show you, all right, so we have extra desks and chairs, but now the obvious thing would be that because these are not enough, then how do we meet how do we fill the gap that has been left? These are the requirements. The requirements are that students shall now sit so far apart. If you talk about secondary schools where it's a chair and a desk, all right, so it's still chair and desk. They don't share in secondary schools. In primary schools, that's where they share the long bench desk. But because we're talking about reducing space, and because we also are aware that there are some private schools that have closed, and some pupils will come from private schools back into public schools, we are expecting an higher and increased demand for services in the public schools. So how do we meet the shortfall? The expectation is that you're going to have to do it.
You're just going to have to make it work.
You're going to have to make it work.
You're just going to have to squeeze it along. It's like the fourth person who gets into a vehicle and the car is already moving, my friend. Somebody moves forward, somebody moves back, somebody squeezes and makes themselves a little bit smaller. But that's what is being shown right now, that regardless of when schools open, still it's going to be a depressed situation, right? You're not going to have things as you would like them to, but you're just going to have to keep going, and somebody somewhere is going to have to squeeze. And unfortunately, it looks like parents are the ones who are going to have to take this burden on their shoulders, whether it comes to the cost, but then even and teachers, whether it comes to squeezing things in. You every school now, each to his own. You'll just have to squeeze in as you go. We have made an effort. We've made some extra desks here. If it's not enough, we have tried.
Actually, there's a little more than that.
Yeah?
There's mentioned that the ministry has come up with a new tool to train the community on how to raise money to plug the huge deficit that revealed that parents and teachers may shoulder the burden.
Wait.
The tool to train the community
on how to raise money.
On fundraising, so that parents and teachers can essentially...
What would that tool...
I wonder what that tool would look like.
What training is this that would...
This is one that we read in the morning. This is the one that we read in the morning.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is. It's the one where the training is being rolled out according to the principal secretary in the Ministry of Education. Right?
I just want to understand. So let's assume this is a community of around X primary school, and this is a community. So what is it that you're being trained on how to do?
Why don't I just read it out for you?
Fundraising.
Okay. Do bricks, sell bricks,
the tools,
do car
yes,
washing,
all that. The cow dung as building material. The tool details guidelines and training modules to support institution management and communities to prepare for readiness of learners and trainees, support of alternative learning platform, and also ensure safe environment for effective curriculum delivery. Do you understand what he's saying? Do you understand what he's saying?
I don't think he understood what he said.
I've read it. This is the third time I'm reading it.
What is this story saying?
I'm actually reading it.
Is it?
Sorry, just read it one.
Say it again.
The tools, the tool details, guidelines, and training modules to support institution management and communities to prepare for readiness, readmission of learners and trainees, support of alternative learning platforms, and also ensure a safe environment for effective curriculum delivery. Okay. What does that guy? Okay. You guys, come on, you guys understand the English language. What are they saying? Just when you think, again, it's safe to get out of the water, they throw in this. School management boards, county education boards, sub-county COVID-19 response teams, and parents association will be trained on how to mobilize resources. Hey.
From where?
Okay. You know, this one is even worse than you're on your own.
Okay. So,
there's a tool.
All right, folks, I don't want you to despair.
No?
No? Let me just add.
From the same story?
Yes, during the training sessions, please listen carefully. Teachers, parents, and management teams will be required to identify resources required in institutions during COVID-19 period. Surely.
Wait. This training, this COVID that we are in now is another COVID period coming.
No, this is the new one for
Continue
readmission
the
of
next
students.
paragraph.
Also, when the new school session, there's another COVID period.
Okay. All right, look, that may be difficult, but this one should be simpler. They will also be required to state resources, mobilization strategies, and demonstrate understanding of the same. We failed that test because that's we're not understanding this thing.
Even the same, we didn't understand.
No.
No, read now. This one is quoting the document direct. You know, the other one, maybe you can say.
It is paraphrasing.
Yeah, it's paraphrasing.
Okay, let me quote. Participants may, this one is not, just perhaps maybe.
It's not shall.
Yes, may have to come up with additional finances, staff, teaching and non-teaching staff, learning rooms, ICT infrastructure, sustainable supply of running water, and sanitizers and sanitizing facilities.
May have to come up with, how do you come up with an ICT teaching room?
No,
How do you come up? You said it. How do you come up with it?
Me, the bit I like is coming up with additional finances,
Yeah.
staff, teaching
Rooms.
and non-teaching.
Teaching and non-teaching staff. Come up with additional. From where? From where?
The ministry cannot be accused of not having a sense of humor.
Wallahi.
Can we actually accuse the Ministry of Education for not having a sense of humor? No.
Now, you guys, the management boards will be required to identify potential donors.
Akina City.
Yes. Possible partnerships, volunteers, and how to leverage unavailable resources.
When is all these things supposed
So,
to
for
happen?
example, you
Before
have a
the
piece of
children go back
land.
to school?
You can, lease out that piece of land. Someone come and plant sugarcane for the next and pay rent, and that is mobilizing resources.
For this term that they want to open now.
Yeah.
This sugarcane, how long? Okay, Uncle.
Okay,
Sweetie.
don't do sugarcane. Then do cabbage.
Oh, so cabbage.
Whatever.
You don't plant it today, it sprouts tomorrow.
But you've
But you want
leased,
them
you
to go
lease
to
today, you
school.
pay today.
Are we talking about?
This is Kenya.
Lease,
Remember,
lease today, pay today.
we did have a situation where the president actually had to comment on this matter. It had to do with planting grass. There was an attempt to plant a certain variety of grass.
The Pope was coming.
The Pope was coming, and this particular variety of grass.
Till tomorrow, it never grew. They have even removed.
So, the effort is what counted in this particular matter. The effort
told you.
and the thinking.
I'm weak. They told you people 2 weeks ago that they were ready to open schools.
They are ready to open schools.
With all this training, let's even throw.
They're ready because remember the training now is left solely in the hands of the board of management and the teachers
people do that training.
and the
Come up
community.
with-
Yes,
come up with these
they're-
things.
look, they're
You
ready.
need to be trained on how to
They've
mobilize resources.
come up with a tool. That is, you cannot say that is nothing.
So that's what they're going to go and tell His Excellency the President.
And there's going to be
We have a
training.
tool. We are ready to roll it out. We have instituted committees around. They will roll out this tool and we'll be ready to go.
Now
so
listen,
in fact, you can open schools.
At the end of this training, all institutional managers, these are head schools, school heads, right? Will gain knowledge on how to effectively play their role in providing strategic direction, establishing and maintaining policies, as well as providing resources so as to prevent and respond to COVID-19.
This COVID-19, this one. I have to ask. No, I have I don't understand. I have to ask.
Not COVID-20.
This one now,
COVID-19.
responses. Is today now they're looking for responses to COVID-19.
Yes.
Yeah, BOMs like Mr. City
They've
Muga
not
here.
done it before. So
They're
now
going
it's
to
their
go.
turn.
So City, there's training. Be ready. Set aside some time. You're going to be trained so that you know how to effectively play your role in providing strategic direction.
Because up until now, you've not played your role.
You know, on my
No, you see,
Schools
before
want
this,
to open
they
now.
did not know COVID.
Yeah. And schools now want to open and they're directly affected. So they want to train you on how to do
my first term as chair, there was no COVID.
Yeah.
Okay. And everything that is being asked for here, that is what my fellow members of the board of management would talk about and be involved in.
On every meeting.
Yes, and
This
that's why we'd even have joint meetings with the PTA, and that's why we even had a committee that had the PTA and board of management, that specific committee to deal with such issues.
Resource mobilization.
Yes,
and see
all
how
that.
to best
All that.
effectively manage this institution.
You know what they're referring to here? Almost every public school has some form of harambe. When they do this, what you do? This is what you do. You look for how best to mobilize resources, how to go about it, how to involve the community. And the community are the parents and everybody else around it.
But you see, now you've been found to be completely dunderheads. Now you need to be trained on how to effectively mobilize resources. Because looking at what you guys have been doing before, mmefanya nini? We need to train you. That is why the tool has been developed by the Ministry of Education to come and train school managers, such as yourselves and the school administrations, so that you find, new, innovative and creative ways of mobilizing resources. After that has been done, now you're left to, if your school is not effectively addressing these issues, COVID-19 measures, if there's no physical distancing in your school, if there's no running water in your school, that is you. We trained you, my friend. We trained you.
You know
how can you get running water in this school? Is there a river nearby? Yes. So river, school. Get water from river to school. Let it run. Running water. Sign up, umefanya training. Sign.
And let me ask you, did you do the training? Yes.
Sign. You signed.
Oh no. You know what? I'm not even upset for. I'm not even ashamed for laughing, because this is laughable. This is laughable. Then you've come up with these things. You've come up with these things because they told you you're not ready. So then you can't come up. You come up. You come up with a tool so you can sound scientific and tell somebody that you did something. What are we talking about? The seriousness with which you take this thing is how it's going to present itself to you. That's why they told you go back. Then now you went and brought back, you actually went back and then you brought a solution that you think is actually going to, a tool that you think is actually going to work. You went back to the drawing board, you drew, saute. This is what you came up with.
You know what? There are people, not just in our ministry, those who work in the Institute of Curriculum Development. Let me tell you, these are very serious people who honestly and genuinely know exactly what to do. It's not that they don't know, they know. And I get the impression that they may have presented something that they knew could work, and were told, Nani, you go back and rethink this thing. What is the yes thing involves money.
Yep.
And that money we don't have.
So now
come up with something that most definitely, certainly, 100% proof does not require us to fork out any money.
Or to pay.
Yes.
To help you in your thinking, think about the words capacity
building. Yes.
Tools, channels.
And then throw in training.
Yes.
Outcomes. Then just throw in resource so that it sounds like
And
it's something
mobilization.
it's meaningful. Then throw in community.
Then you throw in monitoring and
Yes.
evaluation. Finish. You have
done.
finished them.
And just so that it looks like it's all encompassing and it's all inclusive, please, board of management, teachers,
Institutional managers,
non-teaching staff, you know that just so that you cover all your bases. Okay, and then community, stakeholders, and then under resource mobilization. Honestly, but schools in this country, public schools, do this all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. So I'm going to take the view that we are being given a handbook to actually ensure that everyone has a uniform platform on which to do this thing. That's what I'm going to assume.
May I still have a question?
Bottom line,
When they said they
January.
were open, I'm telling you, when they said that they were ready, this 1 billion or however much that they were looking for to do the masks and whatever, when they said they were ready, where did they think it was going to come from? Or are they going to shock parents at some point when you come back to school and say, actually, you know what? We didn't actually include this on a national platform, but you know what? You actually need to be the ones to pay. But schools are open, so just carry on. When you say you're ready, what were you actually talking about? And why do we have to make it sound so scientific? To make people think that you're doing your job? Just be simple. You need water? Let's see how we can make the water work in schools around the country.
Let's hear from William. William is calling in from Diani. Good morning, William.
Morning to you guys. I hope you're well.
We are well. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I don't know if you remember we had a chat before.
Of course, we
Yes,
do
we remember you well,
and
William.
you were going on a bike tour after your COVID experience.
Yes, I actually did. We did. I did, and it was amazing. But the COVID thing, I don't think it was the wisest decision that I ever made.
You don't think so? Why ever not?
That was a stupid decision.
It was a stupid. No, I'm sorry. Please, these gentlemen are laughing. Can you say that again? William,
No,
I implore you.
no, we are tickled by the honesty. Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
For people who may have just tuned in, can you say what you just said?
No, ignore Eric.
So someone once said.
No, William, it's me who is talking to you
now.
now.
Maturity is a process.
William,
Of you climbing stairs. Stop laughing. I'm just.
it's me who is talking to William.
Anyway.
No, I want you to say it again.
No. You'll spoil the fun in it.
You made Eric say.
So I've been listening to you since morning, since like around 6:30, and I can hear the frustration in your voice.
Yes.
About the status of our politics, the status of our institutions that are supposed to implement our policies. I just feel like soon we are going to reach that stage of Lebanon. You know where everything boiled up, and just one mishandled fertilizer at the pot. Government had to be changed. But then I just think we are all complacent in this, in the sense that we are not willing to sacrifice for the coming generation. And like the way I made a decision, probably that I'm not comfortable that I did. I also think that as adults we need to make, currently in Kenya and mature people, we need to make a decision to either decide that are we going to leave our generation a country that they can call a country, or are we just going to make money for the sake of making money for our time and we step out of it? Because I mean, to reinforce and ensure that these institutions stand independent, it takes time. It takes a will. It takes policies and laws that are reinforced to separate the state from judiciary, from the police, from the independent commissions, to ensure that if a political entity makes a mistake, that there is no a grey line where he can take advantage and bulldoze his way through it, or get a narrative that will favor him before the eyes of the law. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just kidding. If you look at the situation in states at the moment, as much as all the craziness is going around the Republican Party and Trump, the larger majority of the population are actually comfortable knowing that the constitution that they have
and the systems in place. They know that the systems work.
We work. So however craziness or the crazy stuff that is going on currently before the election, once the people go and vote, and that their vote counts, it will count in the totality of it.
True.
Now, that is the one thing that we lack in our country.
And we need to get ourselves there.
We need to get ourselves organized, and we get ourselves there. That was my contribution.
William, if you don't mind my asking, and I'm sorry that how you said it, man, it was just so funny. There's absolutely no way the funny bone in me would not react. So just give us your what is it?
Essentially, one that we had so much confidence in the status of our healthcare that in case anything went wrong, that we had a soft landing. That we had the insurance and we had the money. We could, go to a proper hospital and get taken care of.
Yep.
Do you know, at one point we were actually scared that the institution that we were guaranteed to use for our retesting and testing did not even have reagents. We were not even at that particular point. We were realizing that even some of the tests that we actually sent in, the results were not credible coming back in.
Wow.
Oh dear.
Wow.
That was. I think for us, doing a postmortem for it, we were not well prepared. I think the systems that we thought we would trust to actually carry out the experiment, they were not there, and then it became a merry-go-round, and we ended up even quarantining ourselves longer. Because now we did not trust even the other tests that we did. By the time I was calling you, we were actually doing a couple of tests.
Yep.
And I remember it was we had like around 8 days.
Yes.
To now getting the approval tests that we were now totally clean of COVID, and that we needed to now start getting ourselves back into a normal antibody count.
So you feel you took a risk trusting in a system that didn't exist.
That didn't exist. That's I think that's the summary, the sum total of it.
Wow.
But actually, what you did, you may not realize it, but it apart from it just being brave, bordering on foolhardy, the truth of the matter is this. What you realize and what you experience and what you found out is actually important. It's a lot more important than you're probably giving it credit for. Because this is, you see, you are not talking about something you've thought about. You're talking about something you set the test to and you have results for.
And have results for, yeah.
Yeah, so that particular experiment, in my opinion, was a success. You see, the thing about research is there's nothing good or bad. All results are just results. And these results are, in my opinion, good results. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, William.
You guys have a wonderful morning.
Cheers, you too.
Cheers.
A comment from Vincent. He says, hiyo kizungu mingi, but from the article that we were reading on what the preparations are, all that Mwalimu read sounds like comedy.
It actually does. It actually sounds like it could be a script for a bad comedy program. It really does.
One of the things that we cannot divorce in this country, we cannot divorce our civil service and our services of our ministry and government service from our politics. Because these are the sort of statements you expect politicians to make. They make them, you hear them, and then you look at it and ask yourself, what has that person just said? Yes. And doesn't matter how many times you listen to it.
Doesn't make sense.
And if it makes sense in the sense that you wonder, is there really sense to be made out of this?
Anyway, right?
Anyway.
Those are the ones you do.
Yes, you take a deep breath and exhale.
But bottom line is, whether November or December or January is coming and schools are going to be reopened and we'll be sending our children back to school, and there will be concerns on the health safety of our children.
What do those in leadership and government think will happen if they tell us, look, we don't have money and this is what we're trying to do? What do they think will happen?
The truth.
What do they think will happen? We will say, okay, you don't have money. So please tell us what it is we can then do, having stated. But talking about huge sums being allocated, and then you find that those monies haven't gone anywhere.
Yeah,
they're just at the point of
stories.
Yes, stories of allocation. But no one can tell you we actually received this. And if they did, it's a portion of it. Why are they running scared? Why are they not? Because even the issue around the counties, one begins to suspect that what may very well have been the case was not this lengthy.
It was not the drama in the Senate was stage managed.
No.
There was no money. You just
keep
guys
going,
just keep going. Wewe uko na ngapi? You guys keep going. Where your turn, umefikisha ngapi? You keep going. Umefikisha ngapi bwana? Wameenda strike. Wacha ipite. Coming to the end of the show, thank you very much for tuning in today. CT, just say today's proverb.
A monkey that eats grass instead of a banana is a goat.
Yeah. You'll explain to us what that means together with tomorrow's proverb, right?
I will.
Asante sana for tuning in today. Join us again tomorrow, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. At 7 o'clock, we'll be having Musale Mudavadi here. Yep. Good morning. It's now 10 o'clock.